You are all set. Go ahead.
Okay. And then just a matter of, do we have Attorney Nober with us?
Yes, she's
Yes,
here.
I'm here. Sorry.
Okay. And then the other person I'm concerned about is our esteemed clerk, to make sure that if you all of a sudden need a break, you just have to speak up, okay? Ann, did you get that? Ann, clerk?
Yep, I hear you. Thank you.
Okay, because if you stop recording, we're going to stop. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay. Very good. We're going to begin. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to our April 16th, 2020 Town Council meeting. I must ask, in accordance with MGL, Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 20, I must inquire whether anyone is recording this meeting, and if so, to please make your presence known. And you would do that by either zooming in or calling our 888 number. Okay. Hearing nothing and none on that, we're going to start with a roll call. Madam Clerk, please.
Good evening, counselors. Biedenbender?
Here.
Bogan?
Present.
Clark? Clark?
Here.
Cullum?
Here.
Dagwan? Rapgrassetti?
Present.
Levesque?
Here.
Neary?
Here.
Oops, I forgot Mr. Hebert. Sorry, Mr. Hebert.
Present, thank you.
Mr. Neary?
Here.
Schnapp?
Here.
Thank you. Shaughnessy?
Here.
Thank you. Starr?
Here.
Steinhilber?
Here.
That's 12.
Thank you very much, Madam Clerk. All right, we're going to do the Pledge of Allegiance. I hear that we have a flag. Okay, thank you very much. If you join with me, I pledge allegiance to the flag
Flag
United
of the United States of America
and to the republic
republic for which it stands,
one
one
nation
nation,
under
God,
indivisible,
indivisible, with liberty,
liberty,
justice,
and justice for all.
for all. Thank you very much. If we could have a moment of silence, we have much to be thankful for, much to be concerned about with the COVID-19. So we're going to have a moment of silence, please. Thank you very, very much. Okay, just want to make it clear for the listening audience that what we are doing here this evening, in accordance with the governor's order assuring continued operation of essential services in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, and the gathering of more than 10 people, the April 16th, 2020 Town Council meeting and public hearings agenda shall be physically closed to the public to avoid group congregation. Thank you. All right, now we would like to open up for any public comment. If you have public comment, you can do so by joining us on the Zoom and also calling our 888-475-4499 toll-free number. Sarah, do we have anyone in queue?
Not as of yet, but someone just popped on, so I'm gonna go check. I'll be right back.
Take your time, thank you. We have to give at least 3 minutes for the public to call in. I'm going to use this waiting time to also remind folks that they could also call in if that number is occupied. You can call in on 508-862-4610, and that will get you to the manager's office. So then you can be in queue to speak to us. I'm going to take this time to ask Cindy, did we have any emails appropriate that we needed to read?
No, sir, not tonight.
Thank you very much, Cindy.
Councilor Heber, I have Jake Dewey for public comment.
Okay, welcome. If you could put him on.
Jake, go ahead.
All right, President Hebert, thank you. Councilors, thank you for your time. And thank you to staff for keeping Town Hall open and really our town business over the past few weeks. It's been amazing what's been able to be accomplished. But I'm here before you as both a property owner and an owner of rental property and advocate to support and grow affordable and sustainable housing in our community. I'm here urging you to consider adopting a affordable housing residential exemption program. This will be following a model that Provincetown has successfully enacted. The program in Provincetown started with 46 units receiving the exemption when created in 2004. List 100 units receiving the exemption. In 2006, our town adopted the residential exemption program for our primary residence homeowners. I believe this act was to support our year-round residents and shift the property tax levy to second homeowners in our community. This simultaneously has shifted the balance of the exempted tax levy, not only our vacation homes, but to all rental properties, including year-round rental units and affordable rental units not owned by nonprofits. I urge a property tax exemption for affordable year-round rental units. It would not only help maintain rents at an affordable level in line with our area median income, but would also support the creation of more affordable and attainable housing inventory from our existing housing stock. We cannot only incentivize new development projects to meet our housing needs. We need to act fast to create policy that supports existing units to maintain and create affordability. Again, thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you very much. Are there any other phone calls, Sarah?
No other public comment at this time.
Thank you very much.
I have a landline call from John Thomas from West Barnstable that I'd like to put on.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Mr. Thomas.
Yes, I'm really concerned about the landfill. Today was a disaster. Cars all over the place blocking traffic. I think the town just didn't do a proper job in notifying, people about the time that it was closed and all the traffic that was caused. And you're actually causing more grief with people waiting and trying to bring their garbage, as well as, you're congregating too many people now because you're limiting to the number of days. I don't know why the town didn't notify people ahead of time, but I got the notice on the radio station, and I think the communication was really, poor. And the other comment that I want to make is about the safety of the people there. When I did bring my trash the week before, most of them didn't have any masks. And if you're concerned about spreading of the disease, I was wondering why the town didn't provide the employees the necessary equipment.
Thank you, Mr. Thomas, for calling in. We appreciate it very much. There are any other phone calls? Okay.
There are no other phone calls here. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. Hearing no other public comment, I will ask that we close public comment at this time. All in favor? If
So
you would.
moved.
So moved. Second. Good. Thank you very much. We're going to go now to any councilors' response to public comment, please. Yes, Councilor Clark, please.
Thank you very much. I do appreciate what Jake Dewey's perspective is. And if I'm not mistaken, today when I was on the Meals on Wheels delivery today, I believe Jake was had volunteered. And if that is you, thank you for your service.
Thank you.
Seniors Meals on Wheels program.
Okay. Thank you.
They could use more drivers.
Oh, okay. Thank you. If you could repeat that at the communications, that would be great, Councilor Clark. That'd be helpful. Thank you. Councilor Cullum, please.
Yes, I think that Jake Dewey's point is well taken. We should really start considering boosting whatever we can for the rental market around here with people who already own properties. So I would be really interested in talking more with him about that and any other interested councilors who want to help with that effort.
Thank you, Councilor Cullum. Well said. Any other councilors? Okay, Councilor Snap, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. I echo both Councilor Cullum and Clark in looking at creative ways for us to maintain and create new affordable housing. So I think that this is one path that we should be exploring. And I hope to hear more about what is happening at our transfer station later on in the agenda. And I hope that would answer some of Mr. Thomas's questions.
Thank you, Councilor Snap. All right. Seeing no other councilors, I would take a motion that we close councilor comment to public comment.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we have a first and second. Thank you very much. Now we'd like to ask our town manager to for his communications to us.
Thank you. Good evening, Mark Ells, town manager. To the question on the caller, just to so in case he doesn't have the ability to stay with us throughout the meeting. We have closed the transfer station on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. We did put out notice relevant to that through all the means that we have access to. And we do have lines every morning. I wasn't there today, so Director Santos may be able to share if we saw more people waiting in line in the morning, but that is commonplace during many days of the week. We'll certainly look at that specifically to make sure that it isn't a safety concern either from vehicles or as far as the appropriate physical distancing. We've also completely closed the recycling center at the transfer station, specifically because we, in observing how that area functioned, many recycling areas across the state closed down immediately because of that challenge. We felt that it would be important to keep it open as long as we could remain compliant with physical distancing. In our observations, we were not remaining compliant. And so we stopped that service until May 4th or some latter date that may be established through an order by our governor. And relevant to masks, we certainly encourage all our staff and have implemented all our staff following guidelines relevant to the wearing of face protection. We are following it. Relevant to that, specifically in our operations, it is not a requirement. It is for our first responders. As we have access to various equipments that can certainly be utilized for that purpose, we will utilize them. But to date, we have seen those assets focused to our first responders, to hospital staff, et cetera. So again, Director Santos can probably fill us in on more detail. And as Councilor Schnepp referred to, we're going to have a discussion about solid waste in a minute. But I just wanted to provide an answer right now in case the caller doesn't stay with us through the whole meeting. My first speaker this evening on my town manager update is our superintendent of public schools in Barnstable, Meg Mayo Brown, and I've asked her to come in and speak with us about our public schools response relative to this COVID-19 situation. So thank you, Meg, for being here.
Thank you. It's great to be here. Thank you for the opportunity to provide an update in terms of where we are with our school closure. So I just want to take us back to Friday, March 13th. That's when I closed our schools. We're now in our 5th week of closure, but really the 4th week by school calendar expectations. So the school committee builds the school calendar on 185 days. We're required to provide by law 180 days of instruction. So the school committee carries the regulatory authority to establish the school year schedule for its schools, but they must also include 5 inclement weather days, which is why you often see the calendar look like 185 days. So when I closed schools on Friday, March 13th, the following week were really considered, just to informally say it, our snow days. We did not count those days as days of our instruction, that our employees use those days to care for themselves, their loved ones, to try and adapt to the new normal. However, during that week, we convened committees that were developing our enrichment-based learning plan. And because we feel enrichment, and this was aligned with what the Commissioner of Education was asking, is likely the most effective for keeping students engaged in learning and in school. So we need to think about our framework of 4 weeks of closure. So in the first 2 weeks, so that would be the week of March 23rd and the week of March 30th, that's when we implemented our enrichment learning program or plan. These last 2 weeks are considered more formally our Barnstable Public School remote learning plan. So beginning the week of April 6th was the next phase of the learning plan. This is where new assignments were posted on our district's remote learning page every Monday. And beginning this week, teachers have established their remote classroom platform, and they post assignments and activities. Students are required to submit those assignments on a weekly basis for each class. Teachers are providing feedback to those assignments. We anticipate that on or near May 4th, and again, this is dependent upon whatever action the governor is going to take with respect to ongoing school closure. But we'll start with new content on May 4th. So our planning process right now, we consider it's very important to identify what gets taught this spring so that what do our students need to be taught this spring so that they're successful in the fall and certainly in future years. I think it's also important to share with the community that MIT came out with a report yesterday. They studied remote learning plans across the country. And Massachusetts, which we're, as you all know, well aligned with the commissioner's expectations, Massachusetts is rated 2nd in the nation in terms of the remote learning plan. So our remote learning plan really has 3 principles. Number 1, we care for students, trying to meet their academic, social, emotional, technology, and nutritional needs. Second, we create opportunities for projects and enrichment focused on student interests, family projects, and going deeper into previously taught content. So I don't want folks to think that our students are not learning anything new. Our educators are going deeper into the content of what was previously taught. And third, we want to set realistic expectations. And for Massachusetts, that means about a half a day of learning time, which includes student-directed learning, educator-recommended activities, physical activity, the arts, and certainly play. So I know last week there was much conversation and talk about April vacation. So just, in terms of providing some background around that. April 1st was the last time the school committee met for its regular scheduled meeting. The change in the calendar that they made at that time was to change the Barnstable High School graduation date to June 27th in hopes of being able to do something in person with our Barnstable High School seniors. They didn't make any other changes to the calendar because the Commissioner of Education had asked superintendents not to make any decisions or recommend any decisions. Remember, that's the school committee's authority to change the calendar, because he was going to issue some guidance and he was trying to make a determination whether he wanted to issue a statewide a statewide sort of edict in terms of whether or not school districts could use April vacation. On April 3rd, 2 days after the school committee met, the Commissioner of Education issued guidance that April vacation could remain a local decision. I sent out a communication to all of our Barnstable Public Schools families end of last week, indicating that no adjustments had been made to the calendar. Therefore, April vacation was scheduled as April vacation. After I sent that out to our community, to our public school community, lots of feedback started coming in terms of pros and cons for both keeping April vacation as is or continuing to have teaching and learning occur through vacation. So based on all that feedback, and certainly I could see the merit in the sort of the positions that parents and teachers were communicating, sort of both sides of the issue. So I started to contact individual school committee members at the end of last week, sharing with them the feedback that I was getting. I knew they were starting to get some feedback. So we did some problem solving in terms of what do we want, what next steps do we want to take? The next steps we decided to take would be to poll both our families and our staff and do it separately so we could disaggregate the results and really collect feedback and input in terms of what should we do about April vacation. So we sent out a phone poll through our phone notification system. It's the first time we had tried that method. There are some glitches in it. People who weren't able to vote on the phone did email me. We counted their vote. So approximately 50% of our households, our families responded, and approximately 50% of our staff responded. And from both of those groups, about 75% of each group wanted to continue teaching and learning through April vacation. So the school committee met yesterday. We provided them with the polling data, and they decided after some conversation to unanimously voted to cancel April vacation so that students could continue through with teaching, and students and staff could continue teaching and learning through that period of time. I will say some of the school committee's conversation revolved around trying to determine when they would provide possibly a break for students, educators, and staff, maybe in the month of May. So during their May 6th regular scheduled school committee meeting, I anticipate that they'll revisit that, and hopefully at that time we will have an update from the governor in terms of whether or not school will remain closed. I do want to, as of today, there are 26 states in the country that have closed school for the remainder of the school year. So I do think, I think it's very unlikely that we will return on May 4th, but we'll wait for additional guidance from the governor. So based on the school committee's vote yesterday, the last day of our school year is June 18th, but that would be subject to change should the school committee take some additional action at their May 6th meeting. But I think in closing, I really want to say that We know students who struggle academically and who have unstable home lives will be the most severely impacted by our transition to remote learning. We also understand that under the stay-at-home advisory, many homes are busy and may include some adult remote work combined with remote schoolwork, and our families are trying to manage both. We hear from parents and caregivers that we should be doing more in terms of content and rigor. On the other hand, we hear from parents and caregivers that they are overwhelmed by the remote learning plan. So I'm really looking at that this is a marathon, not a sprint. We anticipate that closure will go beyond May 4th, and our phased-in approach, gradually increasing expectations for all, prepares us for the long run. And that concludes my update.
Thank you, Meg. It'll be, if you can stay around in case there's questions, I'll complete my report, and then council typically asks questions. Can you stay in case there are any?
I can.
Thank you so much. We're proceeding with the tasks in the budget action calendar for FY 2021 as scheduled. As Superintendent Mayo Brown has shared with us, back on April 1st, in accordance with Section 6.2 of the Town of Barnstable Charter, the school committee approved the FY 2021 Barnstable Public Schools operating budget and submitted it to the town manager on April 7th. On April 10th, the town manager approved FY 2021 user fees for the Department of Public Works, Water Pollution Control and Water Supply Divisions and the Community Service Department's Hyannis Youth and Community Center. The proposed fee changes to the Department of Public Works Solid Waste Division were not approved, so that means the sticker stayed at the same price it is this year. The town manager plans to submit the recommended FY 2021 operating budget to the town council on May 12th, 2020. And as information becomes available, we always post it on our website. The town council appointed the town manager as a representative on the Cape Cod and Islands Water Protection Fund Board. The bylaws and regulation subcommittee met on April 14th, 2020. We continued discussions of draft regulations and expect to continue discussions through the second quarter of 2020. The full board is not scheduled to meet at this time. There is a website link that I provided you. It's the same one that we've provided in the past. I don't think the full board will meet until the subcommittee developing the regulations completes its work and submits a draft to the full board. Now, this is the committee that's going to establish how these funds are distributed. And there are multiple mechanisms, and if you would like a more in-depth presentation at some point, I'll be more than happy to give it, but I'll stop there. And then if you have questions specifically, again, I'll be more than happy to explain, what I know to date. But I am one of a 5-member board. I'm the chair of this subcommittee. And again, I expect us to continue to meet through this second quarter. And we will see what we can get to, and hopefully get a draft regulation to the board for consideration. The Cape Cod Commission, in coordination with the National Estuaries Programs, are developing a list of shovel-ready or near shovel-ready projects that will improve estuarine health in an effort to include such projects as part of an anticipated COVID-19 related stimulus funding. Commission staff is working to provide a list of wastewater, stormwater, and other water quality related projects. The town of Barnstable submitted a list of over $70 million in projects toward this effort. And hopefully they'll move forward, they being the federal government, with such a stimulus package. It's still under consideration. We also submitted the same list to Senator Elizabeth Warren, Senator Ed Markey, and Representative Keating for their supportive efforts in providing stimulus funding to these clean water efforts on Cape Cod. and we'll keep you advised as this effort progresses. On Monday, April 13th, I had a conversation with Vineyard Wind regarding the status of the Phase 1 and Phase 2 projects. Vineyard Wind continues to work with Barnstable staff regarding both phases of the project. They anticipate commencing construction on Phase 1 in the spring of 2021 and proceeding with the permitting of Phase 2 in the coming months in 2020. And I'll keep you advised of this project as it progresses. Nate Mayo from Vineyard Wind regularly reaches out to our community and has held many community meetings, and he is always available if you are receiving questions relevant to this. Certainly, our town councilors who live in the specific areas where Colville's Beach, Phase 1, Craigville Beach, Phase 2 exist, are probably in need of regular updates from Mr. Mayo. So if you're not receiving that, please let me know. But I would be more than happy to provide support to any town councilor or throughout the community to make sure that those regular presentations are occurring. At this point, I'll stop with my update. And I think what I'm going to do is have Katie Service next provide you an update on the status of the report of recent federal funding. And then I'm going to have Director Santos close with an update on our comprehensive water management plan. But President Hebert, would you like for us to complete all of that, or would you like for the council to ask Superintendent or myself questions at this point?
That way Superintendent Mayo could leave if she wanted to. So can I open it up for council questions?
That's fine.
Thank you. Okay. Councilor Snap, please.
Did everybody hear that? Councilor Schnapp, I think they, President Hebert called upon you first.
Not yet. Oh. Not yet.
Oh.
Shoot.
All right. Is there another?
Hebert, I think Councilor Cullum had her hand up.
Sorry, Councilor Cullum, please. Thank you.
Hi, I think Paula has multiplied. I see her twice on the screen. So yeah, I have some questions and you know, I have some criticisms as well. You know, being the mom of a 12-year-old, it's been a bumpy ride. I feel like it was very slow to roll out. The process of communicating with an educator that has really been kind of the center part of your social fabric as a 12-year-old. Today was the first day, or maybe it was yesterday, was the first day that my son had contact in a Google Classroom where he could see other kids in his class since March 13th, which I think is a very, very long time. So I'm critical of that. I'm critical of the slow rollout. I have a lot of friends in different states. My niece in New Hampshire was taking Zoom calculus the very next week. She's a senior. Granted, it's different than a 12-year-old, and I understand that. And I also understand the disparity in who might have a device at home and who might not. However, I have a friend in New York whose kids go to a lower social demographic school where teachers were prepared the very next week with hard copy workbooks for their kids to do. And they were handed out much the way the Google, I'm sorry, I don't know the word, the tablets were handed out, or the way the lunches were handed out at the senior center, where you just drive by and pick them up. So I feel like there were a lot of ways where that could have been augmented and made better for families. I do understand that we want to keep access equal to everybody, but I feel like the majority of us have been kind of spinning our wheels waiting for more. So I was thankful today to see Mr. Forrest. He was lovely. Dante's smile was huge, because these kids, this is their social fabric. My child's an only child, so that's maybe unusual. But to have that be his entire life, really, his whole social construct, and to have that taken away with nothing for a month was a real missed opportunity, I think. I also wonder if are we learning from other states? I know you must be hearing that other states are rolling out different things at different times. Some are using hard copy, like my friend in New York. Others are Zooming, like my niece in New Hampshire. But I'm hoping that we can learn from this and maybe get most teachers up to being tech savvy to like a certain level. So, we're not, so we are all progressing at the same time, and we're all kind of shovel ready in academics as well. I think, and the other thing I kept hearing was, teachers need the break to get their families together and to wrap their heads around the crisis too. Yeah, definitely. We all needed a break, but we all didn't all get a break. I didn't get a break. I'm still working, So I don't know. I just felt like it could have been handled a little differently at the beginning. I'm thankful now that we're rolling into meaningful lessons, and Google Classroom has been very welcome in my house. I'm enjoying structuring my child's day around that while I do my job all the time, but I just think we could have really adapted better and quicker. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Cullum. Councilor Snap, please. Did you want to speak, Councilor Snap?
Yes, but did Superintendent Mayor Brown want to make any response, or do you want me to?
Your comments are to the superintendent?
No, they would be the town manager. So I just didn't know if there were any other school-related comments.
Okay, let me see if there's anyone else who would like to ask a specific question or comment to the superintendent. If not, I would ask the superintendent. Councilor Clark, you saying something? No? Okay. So I think the superintendent, Mayor Brown, if you'd like to respond to Councilor Cullum.
Sure. So I do again want to emphasize that first week was there was no expectation when you talk about teachers needing the week. We did give them the week. That week was not part of their 182 days contractually that they're required to do, right? That's part of those 5 inclement weather days. So, sorry, are you, okay. So given that, the learning plan was starting the week thereafter. I'm going to go back and cite the MIT report that looks at, as you're mentioning, are we learning from other states? When I read that report in terms of what Massachusetts is doing, and is ranked number 2 out of all 50 states in terms of having one of the highest quality remote learning plans in the country, and we are well aligned to that plan, I look at that in terms of we are on the right track as a school district. Could things have been better? Absolutely, I'll take that feedback from you as a parent. Of course it could be better. And yet, if parents are looking for sort of online schooling compared to remote learning, that's not something we're going to be able to offer. We cannot take what happens in brick and mortar and put it online for kids. That's not realistic, and I don't think that that's the best benefit for our kids. And in terms of, we could have easily run off packets and given busy work to kids. And I'm not making a judgment about what other states are doing. But our goal is to deepen the learning that our students were engaged with, not give them worksheets to do at home. So if there's some criticism in us taking a little bit longer to get a high quality remote learning plan in place, I'll take that criticism. Because in the end, I think that the actions that we are taking on behalf of our 5,000 students are of benefit to them, and in the long run will serve them and their families well.
If I may have one follow-up, please, Councilor Hebert.
Yes, Councilor Cullum, please.
So, and I think I'm talking about 2 things. Thank you for your response. And you're always really good at listening to my criticisms and taking them head on. And I appreciate that. I'm talking about two different things. I'm talking about the educational component, which yes, I feel was very slow to roll out. And I'm really thankful that they're required lessons now. That really helps. And I'm also talking about like the social network for kids. It was a really long delay where teachers did not reach out to kids. And then very slowly, principals started to trickle in a little bit. And I understand that I'm a big proponent of having one voice. I'm the one who wanted the communications director position to be with the town. I believe one voice is the right way to go. But I just felt like, the schools spend a long time training kids and teaching them social emotional wellness, correct? And it becomes a really important ballast for them in life. And so to have that abruptly taken away by a pandemic, right, and not evened out with something else on the other end causes more distress than just absence of learning. And so it's really a two-pronged thing that I'm talking about. I'm going to look at the MIT report because, I know a lot of other schools, you're probably right. A lot of other schools, did busy work. I know my niece wasn't doing busy work. She's graduating and needed her calculus grade, but, and I don't know, I'll check into it. But I really feel like the whole thing was just sluggish, off the blocks. I'm thankful that now we're moving in the right direction on that, but it was really a two-pronged thing that I was talking about. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Cullum. Vice President Rossetti, please.
Thank you, and thank you, Superintendent, for attending. I have a couple of questions about how you, first off, made the decision to close school when you did, and if that was on you or on the state education commissioner. Also, if it is on you and you made the decision to close when you did, that's a good thing. I'm a little troubled to hear that only half of the teachers, and I'd like to know how many teachers are within your system, that only half of them responded to your question about whether you should teach during April vacation or take the vacation off. Also, if you have 5,000 students, how many families responded to your query about vacation? If you would, please.
Thank you. So yes, I made the decision to close schools. That a decision to close school is, in Massachusetts at least, always on the superintendent, if we think of snow days or things of that nature, right? Obviously, if the governor closes it, that's a different story because he's doing that statewide. I closed schools on Friday the 13th. I'd made the decision probably on the 12th that we were going to do it on the 13th, in large part after consultation with our district physician, Dr. Katie Rudman, with our head of nursing and wellness, Pam Siborowski, just in terms of what we were beginning to see and hear about COVID-19. I worked very closely as well, and I just really want to give a huge note of gratitude to Chief Peter Burke, who did a lot of our planning with us the week prior. I had initiated a district task force about a week before we closed, and Chief Burke was a part of that task force. We're not necessarily, as educators, well-trained in the areas that he is in terms of emergency response, right? So I'll never forget the graph he showed me on the Monday of that week before we closed. He showed me a graph that compared back in 1918, right, when what Philadelphia did and what St. Louis did in terms of the ability to flatten the curve for influenza. One city closed their schools, and that made all the difference in the world in terms of flattening the curve and saving lives. So that graph stuck with me through that week in terms of, if we kept our schools open, what impact was that going to have on our community? And I felt a strong obligation to play our part in terms of how can we contribute to flattening the curve in the town of Barnstable and on the Cape. And then after consulting with Dr. Katie Rudman, it was the right thing to do. We had to close. I had made that decision on Thursday. Friday, the 13th, I had gone to the Cape and Island Superintendent's meeting and shared with all of my colleagues that I was going to close. We decided to do it as across the board at that time, so it could be a response from all the Cape districts. I think 1 or 2 districts wanted to wait a few more days out because they weren't seeing what we were seeing. But the governor sort of removed that option for everyone when he closed those schools. Your other question about the polling, I do have those numbers. So I can tell you that sorry, 1 second, please.
I think
So
you said 50% of the teachers responded.
Correct. So we contacted 931 staff, which would include our teachers and other staff members, including paraprofessionals, custodians, everyone. We have 931 employees that were contacted. I do want to note this is the first time we've used our phone notification system to do a poll, right? So you have to listen to the message, press 1 for no, press 2 for yes. That's how it was administered. So 452 of our staff responded. So that's 48.5%. And I think in large part what I heard from some of the feedback, they might have been in a remote learning session at the time that the call, because we said the call's coming at 10 a.m. Well, if you have a virtual class going on at 10 a.m., you're not going to be able to respond to that poll. We also had some feedback. I know it happened to me when I was called, the system cut off before I could actually vote. So we did hear from that it was sort of a technical difficulty. So again, first time we tried it, I think that some of that contributed to a lower response rate from our staff. In terms of our families, 3,485 family households were called. 1,633 responded. So what that meant was 1,252 families said, please cancel April vacation. 584 said, please keep it.
Thank you for that information. I guess I'm a little taken aback that that there was just one attempt in this new method to query the staff. But also, if I could, President Hebert, just do a follow-up. Was the issue of canceling or not canceling April vacation also a union issue within the teachers?
No. Union? No, the teacher's contract says that the Teachers Association should be consulted when the school committee is approving the annual calendar. It does not, that does not impact the school committee's regulatory authority to adjust the calendar or approve the annual calendar.
Thank you.
Okay, so now we have Councilor Neary. Please, Councilor Neary.
Thank you, President Hebert, and thank you, Dr. Brown. Just a question regarding the MIT study. I've heard it referenced twice, and with the new program only rolling out in 1 week, I'm just curious what constitutes their ranking, for lack of a better word, of our program that has now been rolled out. How does that? Obviously, they didn't develop the program, so my question would be, what's the reference and how does that pertain to our system?
So I'm happy to send the report out to all of you, but you'll see along with the report comes an Excel spreadsheet where each column designates a high quality practice in remote learning and whether or not the state educational agency is using that practice. So when you look across all the columns and see the best practice, you'll see that Massachusetts is by and large using most of the best practices, thus the rating of second in the country.
So just as a follow-up, so you're basically saying that we're embracing this particular program, and did that cause delays in terms of running this new program out, or is this in coordination with that program that's been established?
So I think I just need to, I keep hearing the word delay, and I'm not going to obviously argue about people's choice of words in terms of delay, but please understand from our perspective, the timing of our rollout is phased and intentional. So I understand that some of our stakeholders are seeing that as we were slow or we were delayed in our approach. I don't share that perspective. I think the way our theory of action around phasing things in, first doing the enrichment. So when the commissioner issued guidance and expectations, his expectations around remote learning plan, which is what this MIT report is capturing, Barnstable, we looked at his expectations and aligned our plan to that. So his initial set of expectations, what were really around enrichment opportunities, right? So our first 2 weeks were enrichment opportunities. Then he came out with guidance around this is what the expectations are for a remote learning plan. Should be equal to about half of a school day, should include opportunities for physical activity and the arts, just as two examples. Barnstable aligned our plan to those expectations. Those MIT is looking at the set of expectations from state educational agencies. I just want you to know we're aligned to our state agencies' set of expectations.
Thank you.
And rolled out our plan in accordance with the commissioner's set of expectations. We did not delay. As soon as we got the guidance, we rolled out the plan.
Thank you. And just to follow up, so just for the public's information education, so could you maybe just quickly touch on the difference between an enrichment plan and then a formal plan, just so that it's clarified?
Sure. I think the difference for a formal plan, so our Barnstable Public School remote learning plan that's posted now on our website, sets the requirement that teachers have remote classrooms now. Most of them are using Google Classroom, as was referenced earlier in the conversation, that students are signing into that Google Classroom. They're getting their assignments. They're submitting assignments through a remote learning platform. The teacher is giving feedback to those assignments. That's the more formal plan. The first 2 weeks of our learning plan, the enrichment opportunities, was really intended to be what could families do at home for the first 2 weeks? Given that they may not have technology, so we did low tech, high tech options for enrichment. And those activities were developed by our teachers, who convened quickly in committees to say, okay, here's what our kids have been learning about all year. What kind of enrichment opportunities can we put up on the website that not only align with what we've taught them for the year, but also that the family might enjoy working on together. So that's the difference between the first 2 weeks, which was enrichment, and these last 2 weeks, which have been a more formal learning plan.
Thank you very much. Councilor Snap?
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm going to direct my questions to Town Manager. So this is back to the presentation and the discussion of fees that are approved. I have heard, and I really don't have a lot of knowledge about when people might have to pay for fees for upcoming summer activities, i.e. Slips, marina activities. Given COVID and the uncertainty of our summer season, is there any mismatch in terms of when fees might be required to be submitted, or in order to not lose one's position for these various things?
Well, each fee, each permit or license may have different dates. None of them were established, obviously, anticipating this sort of event. They're typically reoccurring on an annual. For example, our parking permits for our beaches. So I think that as we move forward, our bigger concern is that people will not purchase these, yet we need to prepare for these various programs and services to occur this summer. And therefore, we will not have the hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars of revenue that it takes to operate what we have grown accustomed to here in the town of Barnstable. If we're trying to structure much of for example, the golf courses, one of the discussions are related to whether we should have passes or whether we should, you can buy a resident pass, or whether you should pay per play, because we cannot guarantee. And when you look on all of our websites, it clearly states you purchase this at your own risk. We may never open this year, and we are not doing refunds. So that may be that if you go to the beach, perhaps you don't buy a beach sticker, but you can drive in and you can pay each time you go to the beach. That's going to be the individual's. That's going to be the individual's choice here. And some programs, it won't be that easy. We've got, summer leisure program coming up, which is a huge program for our families. If we're not to a point where we can offer that, we're going to have some other. I'm going to be calling Meg and saying, Meg, you have any thoughts on this one? Because we have hundreds and hundreds of our residents who won't be doing those things that they have typically been able to do. Obviously, we wouldn't anticipate them paying if we can't secure them that opportunity. So we're trying to do the best we can. Do you have a specific question about one particular area?
No, it's more of a general information that I think that we're all entering this period of uncertainty, and I'm just trying to offer up an opportunity to give the public more information. I imagine it's also going to affect your decisions on hiring staff for these programs, whether it's lifeguards,
absolutely,
people who work on leisure programs.
Even if the May 4th date is lifted, there is a pending question before our staff relevant to what will be expected of our lifeguards here forward. They are not first responders, even though they play the role of a first responder. Many of them are 16 and 17 years old. So we are working in a different world now. And sometimes our public isn't there yet in their thought. We're living at front line, and we see it every day. And it's in every program and in every service that we offer. And we are trying to anticipate and adjust to information and directives and orders as they are brought to us. So those are the sorts of discussions that we are, and fortunately in Barnstable, we're all still working, and we are addressing these issues collectively. And so I believe that when the time is right and safe, we will be able to go back to whatever that future version of service and programs are quickly. And so that's a good thing. But yes, very complex issues. My advice to the public is ask questions, and just know that there's a lot of unknowns this year. It is not like past years. It's not like any year in my 30 years with the town of Barnstable.
Can I have a follow-up?
Yep.
Yes, Councilor.
So another COVID-related matter is the amount of funding that is related to the federal stimulus plan, and I was wondering how your staff or how you're coordinating all of that, because there are probably things that we're expending now that there might be reimbursement streams through FEMA, there might be state money. So,
well,
how are you
We immediately go into a financial structure so that we will be we create separate accounts. We encode everything we're spending relevant to this event, and ultimately we are able to. And we have specific people involved in that. We have our police department involved in it. We have our finance director involved in it, and then subordinate to that, every single department is instructed on how to utilize this, instructed on how to encode, any costs that we are incurring. We have emergency spending authority up to $1 amount at this time, which Director Milne will keep an eye on for us. If we have to go beyond that, we will look to do that. And so we have had to do this in reality before with primarily weather events. So we have done that. We automatically move to that as soon as we foresee an event like this, and we did that in this case. Relevant to obtaining eligibility and being reimbursed, you're going to hear our next presenter talk a little bit about that. But we are actively pursuing any and all funds that are out there. I think y'all probably heard today the announcement that all the small business money has been obligated, and I don't know what will come next. I hope somehow it's replenished so that those programs can continue. I don't know that we have been directly involved in supporting any of that or administering any of that. We are active in discussions relevant to, for example, rent support for people who need that. And but again, we are not administering that at this time, nor in that case do I think we will be. I think we're going to go through other agencies that have that ability. So we are positioning ourselves so that we can provide those types of supports. We're looking at direct support through the town. We're pursuing through our legislators at the federal level if they come out with this stimulus package relevant to infrastructure funds. And I know that I'm sure I don't have to speak for the school, but I know that they're following this just as closely, and any opportunities that are there, they are positioning themselves the same way.
I'm glad to hear that. So in future reports, whatever information you can share with us, that would be great.
Next town council meeting, I'll have an update for you.
Okay, great.
Thank you very much. Councilor Cullum, is this a school matter or
Yes,
another
it's a school matter. I just wanted to say one more thing, if I could.
Thank you, please.
Yeah. So in my criticism, I forgot to mention that I'm very thankful for the program that you have going with Four Cs, and I wanted to ask you, Dr. Mayo Brown, to talk about that as a major win for Barnstable students, and one that I hope goes Cape-wide, so we can breathe some life back into that institution. So that's an excellent opportunity for all kids, and I want to thank you very much for that. I think that's fantastic.
Thank you, Councilor Cullum. Superintendent, please.
Yes, I was sitting here thinking, how could I get back on the screen to talk about that program? So thank you, because it's a missed update. And I want to thank Town Manager Mark Ells for really putting us together with Four Cs to, as they were talking about doing a quick term. So they've done a quick term that started April 13th and goes to about May 27th. It's a dual, our students can engage in, our Barnstable High School students can engage with it as a dual enrollment. So as they're home engaged in remote learning, they can also pick up between 1 and 4 college courses, which they will get both high school credit for as well as college credit. Cape Cod Community College is offered the coursework, a 3-credit course at a cost of $225 for students, which was very reasonable for a 3-credit course. They also provided financial aid to students who needed it. So it's a huge win for our students during this time to be able to get college credit as well.
Thank you very, very much, Superintendent. I also want to point out that it did not go past our hearing that thank you so much for working with Chief Girk, protecting the health and the welfare of our children and our students and our staffs. I really, really means a lot. I think that this is a curve, a learning curve for all of us, the technology. I think the future we're going to see, and when we first talked about computers, work from home, learn from home. I think that we've opened the door to some wonderful technology here that can benefit all of us going forward. So unless there's any other comments from councilors, I do want to thank you for coming in tonight, talking to us, and helping us to understand the school situation. Thank you so much.
I would just like to give you one additional piece of information. We are serving approximately 12,000 free meals a week to the community, to our students. And just for the public's knowledge, we have multiple sites. They're on our website. The free meals are for anyone 21 years or younger, regardless of town of residence or regardless of school attended. Actually, we're not turning anyone away that approaches us and needs a meal. Additionally, our Barnstable Teachers Association every week has been collecting food donations. Those we know we have a number of families who are experiencing food insecurity. So those food donations collected by our Teachers Association are also going out to Barnstable residents. So I just want to thank everybody for their work in that regard as well.
Thank you, Superintendent. We appreciate it. Thank you. Be well. Town Manager, back to you.
Any further questions for me? If not, I'll turn it over to our Airport Manager, Katie Service.
Thank you, Mark. Good evening, counselors, and thank you for giving me a chance to go over the stimulus package that Barnstable Airport has received. So as you know, with the CARES Act, airports were provided $10 billion in stimulus money due to the effects of COVID-19. As I'm sure you've heard on the news, aviation has been hit hard like many other industries, but aviation has been hit hard as well. Airports that are deemed important to the national airspace system, there's about 3,600 of those airports. Those are the airports that are part of the stimulus package. So it includes 4 different groups. When the FAA started to look at how they would divide the $10 billion, they divided airports into 4 different groups. The first group was to identify monies that would go towards airports, about $5 billion that was going towards airports to account for capital improvements. So for Barnstable Airport, we have 5 capital improvements that are deemed eligible for FAA funding. And those projects include 4 pieces of equipment and to re-roof a building that we have at the airport that was built in 1994. It has a flat roof that needs repair. That accounts for about $1.6 million for the airport. Typically, we receive 95% funding, 90% from the FAA, 5% from the state, and the local share is 5%. So our share was about $200,000 for those 5 projects, and the FAA has picked it up 100%. That's group 1. Group 2 which is the airports that we fall into. Group 2 is for commercial service airports. They took $7.4 billion for these commercial service airports, and they allocated funds to those airports based on a couple of different methods. So they looked at airports enplanements for calendar year of 2018. They looked at those enplanements for that airport, and 50% was allocated to the airports based on enplanements. 25% of the funds were allocated to the airport, and that was based on basically the debt service that the airport had in place at that time. And then the other 25% of the allocation was based on a ratio of unrestricted reserves, basically, and debt service. So when they took that all into account and they took that formula into account, what really helped us is the fact that airports that had higher reserves in place at the time for 2018 or lower debt service, they received a higher allocation. So for us, the allocation for Barnstable Airport is just over $17.9 million to the airport. That is a shock to me. It was a surprise that we would receive that amount of money. As you all know, the airport has been in recovery mode for quite a few years. So obviously the effects of COVID-19 would hit us hard. It's going to take us longer to pull out of this. We were in a slow growth mode as it was. So the stimulus package that has been provided to us is huge. I've been very concerned with a loss in revenue for the airport and how we're going to cover that loss in revenue. Although I've spoken to the council about modifying how much reserves we have that are coming from non-aviation sources, the Cape Town Plaza definitely helped us, but there are other ways that the airport needs to look at really diversifying its revenue stream, because right now, aviation is still, as you can imagine, an airport, aviation is still quite a significant reserves for us. In fact, when you look at the top 6 revenue producers for the airport, number 3 now because of Cape Town Plaza, number 3 is non-aviation revenue, but all others are tied to aviation revenue. And luckily, we do have the solar array at the airport, the 20 acres, because that also helps. So this stimulus package is a big win for us, for the town, for the airport. I'd like to say thank you to Mark Milne and for his assistance. Every year he pulls together the annual report that is required by the FAA. That is the report that they used for the numbers that were attributed towards the 17.9 million that the airport got through this package. Are there any questions?
Vice President Cressetti, please.
Thank you, and congratulations, Katie, for securing that money. Does that mean you're going to be withdrawing your item tonight?
No, no, I think I'm going to stay in place. We have, with the focus that we have with the reductions that we made in the budget, I'm going to keep true to those because I think we really need to reassess what we're going to do with this money. The FAA has allowed the funds to be used for out of the ordinary circumstances, such as your operating budget. It can be used to pay salaries, to pay payroll, for our utilities. The next step really is to meet with my airport commission, which I will do so on Tuesday, the 21st of April. And I've already spoken to Director Milne to ask for his assistance, as well as the town, just to make sure that, this is a surprise to us. We need to use it wisely. We need to make sure that the funds are being used to protect the airport, but also to protect the town so that, that we're an enterprise fund. We don't want to go to the town and use town tax dollars to operate the airport. So we have to just really cautiously think how to use these funds.
I'm sure you will. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Katie. Any other councilors' questions for the Councilor Snap? Please, Councilor Snap.
Thank you, Mr. President. And I also would like to congratulate you, Katie, for running an excellent program. Is the money, the 17.9 million, is that a full-on grant, or is there a reimbursement mechanism so that if you don't use it for certain things, you won't actually get it all?
From what I understand, there's no sunset to the grant. So right now, that is the funds that we get. However, we do have to apply for the funds. And we do have to provide audits and background to the FAA as to what the funds are being covered. So if I use the funds, for instance, for payroll or for utilities at the airport, then I would have to show background for that use, just as I do now for any grant that I request of the FAA.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. Any other councilors' questions for Katie? If not, thank you very much and congratulations to you.
Thank you.
Awesome. Can we go back to town manager? If you have anything else to add, Mark, or questions for the town manager?
Only that I'd like Director Santos to provide an update on the status of our comprehensive wastewater management plan.
Thank you. Director Dan Santos, please.
Good evening, Mr. President, members of the council. Our comprehensive wastewater management plan update for April includes primarily work on the Massachusetts Environmental Policy Act process. That's the ENF that we submitted. We received the certificate from MEPA on April 3rd. And what that does is lays out the process from here on out. Primarily tells you whether or not the document was acceptable and provides comments from state agencies. We received comments from a number of state agencies that I would classify as minimal pro forma type comments, which we will be addressing as required in the next step of the process, which is the environmental impact report. And we'll be getting that underway here in the next several months. And I anticipate probably during the summer, we'll be submitting that environmental impact report to the MEPA office. As far as projects that we have appropriations for, we have, through our procurement office, we have requests for proposals out for design of the Route 28 East project. And what that includes is the Finney's Lane pump station, the force main back to the water pollution control facility, and gravity sewer on Route 28 from Strawberry Hill Road to Finney's Lane, and on Finney's Lane from McQuacket Lane to Route 28. We're targeting fall 2021 for construction to start on that project. We have 3 requests for proposals out right now for survey services. As you might imagine, that when we start putting sewer in roads, we really need to understand very well what the topography is and what kind of issues that we face in doing that construction. So we have 3 projects, and those are to support the Finney's Lane sewer expansion, which is the neighborhoods to the west and east side of Finney's Lane, Long Pond sewer expansion, and the Route 28 Centerville and Marston's Mills from Finney's Lane to Route 149. We continue to design and coordinate with Vineyard Wind on the Strawberry Hill Road project, as well as speak with them regularly on the Phase 2 project. The construction of the sewer extension on Kids Hill Road and Merchants Way in the industrial park is scheduled to begin probably in the next 4 to 6 weeks. We continue in-house preliminary design of all Phase 1 projects. And on the Joint Base Cape Cod update, we met with them in March before pretty much everything closed down. We did have an in-person meeting with our partner in the enterprise, Converge, as well as representatives from the Air Force and the Air National Guard Bureau in Washington, where they had some questions and they wanted to work through a lot of details as they come to a conclusion on their review process in order to make a decision on whether they're going to award a contract to Converge in the town of Barnstable to operate the wastewater treatment plant on the base. And to remind you, our primary goal in that is to secure the opportunity for areas of future wastewater effluent disposal on the base. And that concludes my update for April. I'd be happy to take any questions you may have.
Thank you very much, Director Dan Santos. Any councilors' questions for Director Santos? Yes, Councilor Bogan, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Dan. Just a quick question. What effect, if any, does the current circumstance have on the comprehensive wastewater plan, either near term or longer term, to the extent that you're able to say at this time?
You broke up a little. Would you mind restating the question?
Sure. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. The question is, what effect, if any, does the current economic circumstance have on the comprehensive wastewater plan, either near term or longer term, to the extent that you're able to say at this time?
At this point, I don't anticipate any effect. I think we have to, as we work with the council throughout, after the budget process, I think as the manager has explained, that we'll begin to address some of these financial policy decisions. And I think at that time, we'll get a better idea of what impact future economic scenarios will have on the long-term financing of this project and how that gets done. So that remains to be seen, but I know we'll be dealing with that in the next few months.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Madam Vice President, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Dan. Do you have an anticipated date when the contract would be awarded up at the base?
No, they did not indicate that at all. They just said they were continuing to work on it, and they'd let us know if they either had more questions or when they had a decision, but they did not tell us when that would be. I think their target is to get something in place for the next federal fiscal year, which begins on October 1st.
Okay, thank you. And as usual, if you could send us maybe a little update via email of this report.
Sure.
I appreciate that.
Slides, but I'll send you an email update.
Thank you.
Will do.
Thank you, Madam Vice President. And Councilor Biedenbender, please.
Thank you, President Hebert. This is for Town Manager Els. I just had a question regarding small cell installations. I've had a number of inquiries regarding how many applications, or are there active applications occurring, and are there any installations occurring? There have been some requests. Is the town in a position where it could put a moratorium on any installations until the true impacts can be better understood, what have you? So I just wanted to share constituent concerns with you and see where we're at currently with small cell installations.
At this point, there is not a moratorium on this. If it's something that the council would ask me to investigate and report back, and I could get clear direction from council, I will certainly do that with the assistance of staff. I did talk to the building commissioner. We are not having a large number of applications. There was a great deal of interest when they were out digging around the bases of the poles, and speculation on what that was and why that was occurring. I believe they were testing the poles to see if they were rotted. So that wasn't the installation of 5G or 4G, which both still go in, to my understanding. I have had a lot of communication from the public asking for us to move forward with this technology right now because of the use of communications from their home, which they weren't doing as much in the past. So I think it's important that we fully understand this issue, embrace it as a community, and make some long-term decisions as to how we want to proceed with it. So, but at this point, no, there's no moratorium.
So just as a follow-up, if I may?
Yeah,
sure. So to your point of further understanding and just, getting our information in place so that we can make good decisions moving forward. We had, while we were still meeting in person, there had been a discussion that we would put together some sort of a workshop or a presentation on it with various experts coming at it from varying perspectives. And just curious if that's something that we can manage in this type of setting, or if that's something that we have to hold off until we're able to do something in person. Just how do we manage this? My
professional opinion is this is the world we are in now. if we want to have this discussion, I'll go forward with scheduling it. I don't know what the future will hold for public meetings. So, this technology works. It's not perfect. It's certainly different than meeting face to face. But be more than happy to host it this way. And if it doesn't accomplish what we want to, we can try it another way later on. So I'll start to organize that, and I'll report back to you on when we might do something like that.
That would be terrific. Thank you, Mark.
Yep.
Thank you, Councilor Biedenbender. And Mark, yes, we'd appreciate it if you would move forward on that as was just presented. I think that'd be great. I did check in with the group that was going to poll and doing some work on each poll. And indeed, it was to make sure that the polls were strengthened enough to see some encased in metal. And that's with the purpose that we're doing that, checking the quality and the capacity of the polls. It was great. Any other questions for the town manager on his report? If not, thank you very, very much, town manager, and we appreciate it. All right, I'm going to ask now that Madam Vice President, could you do the minutes? Work on the
Yes.
minutes?
I'd like to make a motion that we accept the council meeting minutes of April 2nd, 2020 as presented.
We have first, we have a second. All right. So will we do a roll call? Want to do a roll call on this? Yes, we're going to do a roll call. Madam Clerk, this is to accept the minutes of our last meeting, please.
Councilors Biedenbender,
Yes.
Bogan,
Yes.
Clark,
Yes.
Cullum,
Yes.
Rep Grissetti,
Yes.
Hebert,
Yes.
Levesque,
Yes.
Neary,
Yes.
Schnapp,
Yes.
Shaughnessy,
Yes.
Starr,
Yes.
Steinhilber.
Yes.
That's 12 yes.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. All right, now I'd like to open up for communications from elected officials, boards, committees, commissions, and correspondence and announcements, please, councilors. Madam Clerk, were you asking for something? You just lit up.
Oh, sorry.
You okay? All right.
Yep.
Thank you. I'm sorry, was that Councilor Biedenbender?
Hey there, thank you. I just, I wanted to provide a quick update regarding homelessness because the subcommittee has not been meeting at this point, which in all reality and fairness, there are quite a number of individuals, organizations, the county right on down to organizations in Hyannis, Duffy, VinFen, the hospital that have been a part of a weekly large group conversation on working with this vulnerable population during this crisis. So it does not seem like at this moment in time, it's fair to ask people to focus on this additional aspect when we can come back to it when we get over the worst of this. But that said, one of the other pieces that has been a critical issue that a smaller subgroup has been working on is regarding the number of homeless individuals that have been appearing on Main Street more frequently. We've received some comments from business owners, residents, and asking what's going on. And in part, part of it has to do with the shelter for social distancing and making the shelters safer. It's reduced the number of beds. But one of the main concerns is that, you know, the weather is also changing. More people will maybe be going outside. So one of the things that's a concern has to do with taking care of the basic needs of these individuals, as a lot of the organizations that they would go to for hygiene, bathing, what have you, are now closed to them. So a group of individuals have been working to make sure that there's going to be a showering facility in place next week, and BPD is involved. So I just want to let you know that there is a lot of work that is happening regarding our homeless, but the actual committee itself has not met yet. As I said, I just feel like we need to get through this really challenging moment in time before we start to go into some other aspects of what we can do with this population and help them.
Thank you very much, Councilor Biedenbender, for that report. And also kudos to you and to the committee. And it's well understood that the priority right now is dealing with the COVID-19 situation. And that you personally, I know, and members of your committee have kept in constant contact with everywhere from the county to the fire chiefs to the police chief. You're doing an awesome job. We thank you for your leadership in this very, very important committee. And it's clearly understood that take care of business first before we move forward on that, the other work of the committee. So thank you very, very much. Councilor Shaughnessy, please.
I just want to mention and remind everybody that this Friday from 5 to 7, we'll be doing a virtual Barnstable's Got Talent on Channel 18. Sarah Beal and Paula Hershey are working on that. I also want to mention that 2 of our counselors will be showcasing their talents, Counselor Biedenbender and Counselor Levesque. So I would encourage everyone to tune in for the show.
Thank you very, very much for that report. Thanks, Councilor. Councilor Snap, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. Many of my fellow counselors have been involved in helping with the various food programs that have been going on in the town. The Grab and Goes Monday through Friday at our adult community center. And I know Councilor Clark and some others have stepped up to volunteer with the Meals on Wheels program. So it's excellent. I'm going to ask Sarah if she can cue a few photos that we set up for this little section. We have a photographer in our community, Christine Hochkeppel, who's been taking photos of how the impact of COVID has hit our community, and oftentimes in many positive ways. So I don't know if I might not be able to, here they come. So here's a few photos from some of the activities that have been going on at the Grab and Go. And also there's one event that I was able to take part of that was really special. And what's really special about it is that it actually happens every first Friday of the month. And it is a program run out of our adult community center to provide well over 240 families with substantial food. And, you know, I don't know how I missed knowing that this program was coming out of our town, but I was really impressed with the organization. Claudia Borden is the impresario who manages all the volunteers. And because of the concerns of COVID-19 and that the senior volunteers were more at risk, they are now inviting other folks to help out in this effort. And this first Friday, I think it's members of the golf committee, someone else might know exactly who it was, were there in force and helping unload all sorts of food from the Greater Food Bank and then dispersing and distributing them out. So I just wanted to, you know, share that with fellow counselors and also the community about what a tremendous effort that is. I also wanted to let people know that the Family Faith Kitchen has been continuing to provide meals Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays from 5:30 to 6:30 for our families. And on top of that, there is an effort by the Cape Cod Family Table Collaborative to provide free food. And a lot of this is being donated by area restaurants. And some of their staff are helping coordinate the preparation and distribution. And there was the first distribution on Tuesday at the Adult Community Center from 4 to 6. There will be another one on Friday at Cromwell Court from 4 to 6. And this is a no questions asked. If you need food, show up and you can get your allotment. And I believe it's actually enough to feed a family of 6. So again, that's at Cromwell Court tomorrow, Friday, from 4 to 6 p.m. And they will be continuing to use different outlets in town to provide this food, hopefully on Tuesdays and Fridays each week. Oh, and then I have one not food related item, is that the Zoning and Regulatory Subcommittee will resume its meeting schedule on Thursday, April 30th. So that's 2 weeks from tonight. We'll be meeting at 6 o'clock. It will be obviously on a Zoom platform, and we'll be completing our review and recommendations initially on the short-term rentals before we move on to other items that we need to address.
Thank you very much for that report, Councilor Snepp. Councilor Cullum, please.
Yes, I just wondered if we could inform the public about when town council president appointed committees will be meeting in the future. It seems like they've kind of ground to a halt, and now I feel like staff has a pretty good handle on COVID and moving forward. And I feel like we could start moving some of the town business forward to appointed committees. Is there some frame of reference we could give?
I'm sorry, Councilor Cullum, you broke up a little bit. Your question in particular is when what will start again?
When presidentially appointed committees will start meeting again. Like our Councilor Schnepp, to her credit, is pulling this meeting together for us on the zoning committee so we can start working again on the short-term regs, short-term rental regs. But you know, the appointments committee, all these other committees where the town council president appoints the members of the committee, when will they start meeting so that constituents can know?
Thank you very much. A good question, Councilor. So all the committees, the understanding has been that if you have any essential business or appointments, or if you have applications that in a timely manner need to be addressed, then those committees should be continue to function. They should be contacting the administrator to set up the meetings again so that we can get you on the Zoom program so you can keep meeting. So there's no committee that's being told they can't meet. We ask you to look at what's most essential right now, and that's for the chair of each committee to make that decision that it's that they should be meeting. So they're all open for business, but we go by what the chair says, or if you feel like I'm not going to talk about any particular committee, but perhaps any committee chairs who would like to report on that might be able to answer your question. But there's no prohibition about any of our committees meeting. Did that answer your question?
Yeah, it's good to know because nobody's met. So I think now it's the time, maybe everybody needs to light a fire a little bit and keep the town moving. Because we've dealt with the crisis at hand. We're still dealing with it. We will be dealing with it far into the future, but we can't grind to a halt. So I just wanted to make sure that we said it publicly so people know they can contact maybe the town council administrator and maybe she can fill them in on what committees will be meeting. But it would be good to get the wheels of justice.
Yeah, I think very, very valid point, Councilor, and I do encourage chairs to look at the agendas, what needs to be done, and to work with again with the town administrator so we get these committees going again. Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Clark, please.
Thank you, Council President Hebert. I do want to commend the town manager and the staff for sustaining town services during these trying times, as well as the Barnstable County and Cape Cod Healthcare for their fine work at the community college with the testing there. I'm familiar that the deputy chief for the West Barnstable Fire Department, Dave Penninan, has been putting in 12-hour days to support the services there. And yes, I do also commend them getting close to the work that's being done at the Adult Community Center. And Meals on Wheels are available. The number of clients are growing, and they can use drivers. They're looking for drivers from elder services, or you can contact them through the Adult Community Center. Thank you.
Councilor Neary, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just a comment. We are certainly at an unprecedented time, not only as a nation, but as a town. And we have had the good fortune of quite a few years consecutively of prosperity and growing tax base and growing fiscal budgets. The next month, the town staff will be faced with really a grueling job of trying to manage the potential or expected revenues that we can see going forward. And I'd just like to touch quickly on the fact that when budgets are conceived, I had to make many budgets for over 2 decades, and it's a moment in time. We can all certainly point back to January of this year, and I think we all certainly felt quite differently in terms of prospects and the way things were going. But because budgets are conceived in time, they're based on basically historical information that happened in the past, and assumptions are made as to where things are going to proceed in the future. And our town's fiscal policy is based on those assumptions. With the current climate that we're in, there has been many talk about where the town's revenues will fall. Some are startling, most are startling at this point. But again, it's just a moment in time and we don't know. The town staff and its directors and its departments, all of them, they'll be faced with the burden of making some cost adjustments to our fiscal budget. And I would just remind really the people of the town to remember this. You can't spend money that you don't have, and we really don't want to mortgage the future. But I can say through my budgetary experience that adjustments to a budget, however deep they may be, have to be done. They have to be done quickly. The good news is we have a format where should revenue change, those adjustments can be then reassessed. So I guess it's more of a call of coming together moving forward to work our way through this. I know Town Manager Ells and Director Milne, the school department are faced with some very difficult choices. They may involve wage freezes, they may involve changes to programs, they may involve personnel. With that said, adversity does breed ingenuity. It breeds efforts that actually change the way we operate and creates new opportunities in savings and actually in improving what the town offers our constituents and the people of the town. So with that said, I would just like to reiterate that it'll be a difficult time. We'll come out of it. There'll be some positive things that will come out of it. And we'll all have to share in let's call it the road that we walk down, but understand that these these decisions will be difficult. They'll be well vetted, I'm sure, by the staff. And I look forward to seeing where the budget comes and where we go moving forward with the town. And everybody stay healthy. That's the number one thing. And look out for each other, and we'll all get through it. That's what I have. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councilor Neary, for those comments. And kind of backing that up, there's an economic committee that was started by President Crocker at the time and Vice President Steinhilber that looks at our economic position and what we can do to develop economic and new revenues for the town and support our small businesses. And so they are going to be meeting this month. They've reached out to us. Councilor Steinhilber is the liaison to that committee, but they've also invited myself and Vice President to come to their next meeting, which will be video, just like we're doing here tonight, to start to look at some of the things that might help us in our recovery in our town. So kudos to the chair there for getting that going again. We know that CFAC is also trying to be supportive. This is so difficult for finance planning, but we have to all contribute whatever we can in terms of trying to understand our situation and then vote accordingly. We have just finished our council budget. We've gone over it with as close as we, shaving whatever we can. We will be turning some funds back into the general fund at the end of this year. We've done our work for the new budget coming up in 2021, even looking at how that's going to look like in 2022. So the council is doing, even though we're a very, very small part of the town in terms of the expense of running the council, we are doing our share to cut and shave off any expenses that we possibly can moving forward. So thank you for your comments, Councilor Neary, on the economy. Any other councilors on communications? And if not, we're going to move to the town manager's workshop on recycling. All right, thank you. So, town manager, Mark Ells, you're on for your workshop.
Thank you. Good evening, Mark Ells. Here with me tonight is Director Santos and Division of Solid Waste Supervisor PJ Kelleher, also Assistant Town Manager Clyburn and Director Milne will sit in the wings and assist us if necessary. Yeah, thank you for this opportunity to conduct a workshop with you. We do have a specific outcomes that we are looking for direction on, and those are specifically that if after we do this workshop, the town council is interested in the recommendation that Director Santos will make at the end, I'll work with legal to bring back the ways that we might modify some of our regulations. They're actually Board of Health regulations, to be able to move in a direction that accomplishes what we're going to give you a brief history on, discuss the relevant programming relative to recycling. This is a focused workshop on our recycling program here in Barnstable, specifically at our transfer station that falls under the Department of Public Works. We're going to talk a little bit about what's happened in the marketplace relevant to municipal solid waste in general, but specifically, recyclable products. And I think at the end, you'll hear Director Santos share with you a couple of options that we need to consider. And I'm really looking not for a resolve or a vote of any type, but just acknowledgement and an interest that I perceive this would be a significant endeavor but we wouldn't be bringing it before you if we didn't think that it was necessary. I believe you are all familiar with the fact that our solid waste division is an enterprise fund. And when Director Milne and I come before you in the coming months to first, in a general sense, talk about fiscal policy, and then after that, talk about fiscal policy relevant to wastewater, we will get into more of these details. But being an enterprise fund, I believe we have 9 in Barnstable. 3 of them are actually identified as full cost recovery through the fees that we charge at that enterprise fund, meaning that your town manager just doesn't have the authority to assume that, for example, if we don't charge for resources in our, we don't charge a fee for recycling its solid waste, and the town's direction is that we offer recycling of certain products for no cost to our residents. I don't have the ability to take it from the general fund. I don't have the ability at solid waste. I don't have the ability at water pollution control, and I don't have the ability at water supply. We do at the other 6. So I believe we do. I would have to stand corrected by Director Milne later on in a future discussion, future workshops relevant to fiscal policy if I'm incorrect there, but I believe that's the case. Knowing that, the mandate that's on the books for us and has been standing, and we have been before former councils on this issue, relevant to not charging for recyclables, you will see by the end of Director Santos's presentation, has become a tremendous fiscal challenge for us, given the changes in the recyclable market. There is a misperception that things that are called recycled in one circumstance are actually recycled. And there's also a misperception that recyclables go to market, we recover a revenue that offsets the cost of recycling. That is not correct. It has never been correct. And we have always, in my 30 years with Public Works, I ran solid waste 2 times during those 30 years, and then proceeded to other positions that oversaw the operation of solid waste. We have never fully recovered the cost of recycling. We have always had the regulation that states that for certain recyclable products, we will not charge. There is a significant conflict there. We have also discussed this with past councils. Little perspective there, we try to recover the fees to offset the expenses incurred. We have been using reserves. We are beginning to see a depletion of those reserves. Our reserves in solid waste are currently $2.3 million. This year, we will have to use almost $500,000 in reserves to offset the total costs, not just associated with recycling, but we've also incurred a significant increase in the cost of disposal of municipal solid waste as well. We don't want to see our residential sticker go up at a rate, especially this year, but at a rate that is something that our residents cannot afford. And so we try to look at the market, we try to look at what our customer can afford, and then we look at our actual costs and those reserves. Again, we have 2.3 million. We would not want to go below 1 million in that reserve. You can do the math, and we have 2 fiscal years to work this out. There's lots of options. One option is what we're going to present to you tonight, and I would ask Director Santos to do his presentation, and then he and I and PJ Kelleher are here to get into any level of detail that you would like to. And again, Mark Milne and Andy Clyburn are here as well. So thank you.
Thank you, Mark. Sarah Beal is going to put up a slideshow for us. Okay. So for those of you not all that familiar with Zoom, the way I have it set up is if you go with your cursor in the top right, you can have gallery view when you see everyone and everything, or you can have speaker view. When you have it on speaker view, you'll see the presentation much larger. So hopefully you can do that, and it makes it a little easier to see. So our transfer station opened, believe it or not, in the 1930s. It's called a dump back then. Some people still call it that. But the transfer station itself was established in 1984 when it became a place where some waste was transferred from that point to other locations, and things were beginning to wind down with actually burying waste on the site. We stopped the landfill practice itself in 1996, and under current manager Els, the landfill was capped with in-house forces at a significant savings to the town of Barnstable in 1997. Currently, we contract with New Bedford Waste Services of New Bedford for our municipal solid waste and our recyclable, primarily recyclable disposal. And that contract started on January 1st, 2015. And it has 5 years, and then it has also periods which we can renew that contract. That's for waste disposal and transportation. So they pick up the waste, and they also pick up recycling at our facility. Disposal costs, as you'll see, have been significantly increasing for both parts of the waste stream since 2015. Next slide, please. As the manager said, transfer station operates as an enterprise fund, most important being here that it's full cost recovery. It is a residential transfer station, meaning just that. Some commercial enterprises use it for our construction demolition debris, but it's from residential projects in the town of Barnstable. We accept bagged waste, which is municipal solid waste, which goes into the compactors, and recyclables drop off. We have a composting operation for leaves and grass. So we accept leaves and grass from residents, and then we compost that and make it available to residents in the spring at no cost to sticker holders. We take construction and demolition debris, bulky items. Bulky items are televisions, mattresses, air conditioners, those kind of things that we do charge for. We have begun in the last couple of years a food waste collection operation, and we also operate a swap shop, which promotes the reuse of all kinds of materials and products and things that people use rather than discarding them in the trash when they're through with them. Next slide, please. So the appropriate governing regulations in Barnstable that we'll be addressing this evening, and I've highlighted the more pertinent sections in red, creates a recycling center for disposal of recycled materials, certain of which may be disposed at no charge, and others of which may require payments of a nominal fee. And then in 373-3G below, you can see where it breaks out what those recycled materials are that will be free. And those include basic recycling, such as paper, glass, tin cans, plastic, waste oil, paint, stains, etc., at no cost. The other items that we take, as I talked about a moment ago, computers, mattresses, things like that, we do charge a fee for, and basically it's cost recovery. What it costs for our vendor to take it plus our cost to do it, and that's what we charge. And those fees are reviewed annually and addressed in the annual rate hearing. Next slide, please. So how many users do we have? So we have just under 9,000 full cost sticker holders. And you can see in the past 10 years, that's been very, very stable. In 2016, we started a free recycling sticker. And while before that, recycling was free, what was happening and what we were realizing is that people were coming in from other towns to dispose of their recyclables here. And it was really not much control over that, and made sense that we start a program to make sure that we just have Barnstable residents. So we established a free sticker. So you just have to get the sticker, and then we know when you come through that you're a Barnstable resident. And that's how we operate today. And we have between 3,500 and 4,000 free sticker holders for recycling. Next slide, please. So how much municipal solid waste and recycling do we generate from those sticker holders every year? And this is in tons of material. And you can see that's fairly stable as well over the last 10 years. We take in about 9,000 tons of municipal solid waste and about 2,700 tons of recyclables per year. Again, that's been pretty steady over the years. Next slide, please. Since 2010, here's the history of the municipal solid waste sticker fee. And you can see that from 2010, it has grown, and in 2014 took a very significant increase and then flattened out again. What that was our contract. We had a 25-year contract with Covanta, who operates the waste to energy facility in Rochester. That contract ended, and we had long-term contracts at very attractive rates there. To give you an example, the rate at the time was in 2014 was $37 a ton to dispose of waste, but we were also getting subsidized by the Commonwealth of about $20 a ton. So our net disposal cost was $17 a ton. Today it's $94 a ton. So there's a tremendous increase, and that's our major cost in the enterprise fund, in fact. Next slide, please. So here's the costs of, which I just talked about, disposal and recycling. So you can see the cost per ton of the municipal solid waste in the green, going up in 2014 pretty heavily, and then going up again last year. And you can see recycling. Basically, the contract that we negotiated with New Bedford Waste was that for the things that we weren't getting a rebate on, or that we couldn't sell, like metals primarily and corrugated cardboard, they would take away at no cost to us. So they took it and they trucked it, and we didn't have to pay. They did that because if they could get some funds for some of those things, they would, and it turned out not to be a good bet for them, frankly. But those costs have gone up astronomically, as you can see here, from zero to just under $120 a ton. And most notably, it's actually more expensive to dispose of recyclables than it is to dispose of trash right now. Next slide, please. This gets at what the manager was talking about, is running a deficit. And you can see this is our recycling revenue versus our recycling expenses. And for the last 10 years, consistently, as a matter of operation, there is a deficit in the recycling program that we utilize cash reserves to subsidize and make our budget and make our ends meet. Next slide, please. So our current tipping fees for recyclables, you can see here, plastics, mixed paper, $115 a ton, corrugated cardboard, $25 a ton, glass, $70 a ton, metals, $110 a ton rebate. So we make money on metals and we make money on newspaper, clean newspaper. The metals have always done well, and Barnstable actually prided itself on always maximizing the amount that we get out of our metals, because we actually spend a lot of time making sure it's clean. It doesn't have plastic in it. It doesn't have cast iron if it's scrap metal. And we began last year when New Bedford Waste wanted to start charging us for recyclables, taking our tin cans and mixing that in with our metal waste. So the tin cans go in with the scrap metal, and we do get a rebate on those items. Next slide, please. And this just it just shows the trend on each item. I'm primarily just trying to show you a trend analysis of how each particular item in the waste stream, how the value has moved over the last year and a half or so. Cardboard, and you can see the 0 is in the middle. So cardboard, the green line, we used to get a rebate for, it now costs us money to dispose of. Mixed paper, which is on the bottom line, both mixed paper and plastic, they have the same exact line. So you see that funny yellow line on the bottom. That's basically showing that that went from 0 to about $120 a ton now to dispose of. And then the two top lines being the clean newspaper, where we get a rebate for. You can see it's trended downward. And for metal and cans, which is our highest value recyclable, also still trending downward. Next slide, please, Sarah. This chart just depicts graphically our recycling deficit since 2010. And you can see that that deficit took a tremendous spike in 2018, as I've just been talking about. And that trend is clearly in the direction of greater deficits. The problem with greater deficits is we have to take more from our reserves to balance the budget. And at some point, those reserves cannot support that any longer. And we need to turn to other forms of revenue, primarily in this case, raising the sticker fee. Next slide, please. So, some of these are pretty stark, but it's the reality of the situation. This is moving from now, based on what I was just talking about. If our deficits keep increasing, we keep needing to dig into our cash reserves. You can see that as that runs out, the sticker price has to increase dramatically. And by 2030, it's up over $400 a ton in the next 10 years. This shows on the bottom projected recycling as it currently exists, free recycling. So the green line is the sticker fees that would result based on our projections. And if we go to the next slide, you'll see I've plugged in a recycling sticker fee. So a $65 fee for a recycling sticker. And what that does, it still doesn't eliminate the growth of sticker price, but it certainly, to use a term that's been quite used lately, flatten the curve, it drops that down. And if, Sarah, you can toggle quickly between this one and the last one, you can see how that, thank you, how that affects the sticker fee. Next slide, please. So to give you an idea of what recycling costs from private haulers and trash hauling, we did a poll. So this is very recent this week. I wanted to have the most current information. And this is a range. It's kind of a sampling of fees from $10 a week plus $18 a month for once a month recycling collection. That's a total of $736 a year. $11.25 a week at $25 a month is $885 a year. and $12.50 a week, one vendor, includes recycling, that total would be $650 a year. And I don't have it there, but I have it here. So the cost of recycling in the first instance there is $216 a year, and in the second instance, $300 a year. So even if we charge for our recycling sticker, there would still be a significant savings. Next slide, please. So what we're recommending at this point, based on our analysis that we've done and discussions we've had, we've been talking about this for a long time, in fact. We propose maintaining source separation. What that means is, if you use the facility, you may recall a couple of years ago, we went to single stream recycling, frankly, because it didn't matter to New Bedford Waste. They were taking it away free, and we felt it was easier on our customers. They didn't have to worry about it. And when they started charging, we realized we had to go back to source separation. And what that does, it provides us flexibility in the ability to adjust to markets. So we can combine things or not, we have a better product, increase the money we get for it. So I think that's something we're going to continue to do. We recommend discontinuing free recycling. Frankly, the reason recycling was free is because for a long time, it was a moneymaker. It was recycling brought in revenue. So why not? But now recycling costs us money, and it has for quite some time now. And it's the days of just being able to dispose of anything for free are gone. So there's really two ways that could be done. We could have recycling only, as we did, or as with the purchase of a full sticker. In other words, if you want to recycle, you have to buy the full sticker and you get to use the facility fully. Another option is that we charge, as I mentioned a few moments ago, for a recycling only sticker. We're suggesting at this point that be a $65 a year fee. And we've calculated that based on the amount of tonnage coming in across the facility, and then basically extrapolated that information based on just those 3,000 sticker holders. So basically $65 a year for the projected number that we think would use it would cover their costs. Sticker costs, that's $65 for FY21. Obviously, we would have to adjust them if necessary every year based on market conditions. In the previous graphic, it was shown as $65 just going out, but those just to show that what a sticker fee for recycling does to the overall sticker fee. And then finally, the biggest thing that we can do to reduce costs in this operation is to reduce waste. We need to embark on a rigorous education in waste reduction. Basically, it used to be reuse, reduce, and recycle. Now it's pretty much reduce and reuse. The recycling's costly now. So these are our recommendations. And as the manager said when he began, we'd be happy to participate in a discussion with you and try to answer any questions you may have. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dan. Councilor Neary, please.
Thank you, Dan, for the presentation. Just a question, so clarification. So if I have a recycling sticker currently, what do I do with the rest of my waste? How does that whole process work? I mean, I'm assuming that I'm buying a plastic bag and I've got whatever, a trash bag with me. So how does that work?
Well, normally people who are doing the recycling only have a commercial hauler service their home, and they're choosing not to pay that hauler to take their recyclables because it's cheaper to bring them to us for free.
Okay, then a follow-up would be, what is the shortfall that or lack of a better word, the burn rate that the enterprise account is being reduced year over year in a monetary dollar? What is that? Is it 100,000? Is it 300,000? What is it?
It varies, but it's hovering in the $500,000 a year range, and I'll let Mark Milne jump in if he wants to provide a more accurate figure that he might have at hand.
Yes, good evening, councilors. Yeah, Dan's accurate. We're looking at a FY21 budget right now that will require us to use about $500,000 of that reserve. And
uh-oh. I'm sorry, Mike, I lost you.
Well, we can come back to that when he comes back, but that's basically the burn rate.
So, if I may, fee increases on an annual basis, I think, can be problematic and hold on, a nuisance. If in fact this is what is occurring, then my thoughts are they're using the facility the whole bit. If my math is in the ballpark here, if you were to charge 50% of the current rate of roughly $250 towards recycling, and I understand the mentality about how good recycling is, I get that. But they still are using the facility. And what I'm hearing is that it's still a shortfall at the 65. So if we were to place a number of around $125 for an annual sticker, that, if my math is right, you've got roughly 3,000 people that use that process. That would bring in somewhere between $350,000 and $400,000 in revenue. Would certainly tighten that loss gap. And for the balance of the people in the town, it would help to reduce future dramatic increases in cost to dispose of their refuse. So my thoughts would be not to so much take baby steps, but let's just make a decision where we're going to try to minimize that gap and then move forward from there. That would be my thoughts.
Yeah. Well, I think it's important that maybe you all, think about the reason we're even providing that service now. I mean, understanding that when we started, we were happy to take the material because it was a source of revenue. Mm-hmm. But now that's not the case. So I think it's worthy of discussion. Is that what's the goal here?
Thank you.
And it's interesting. I've had a long history, as I shared earlier, with solid waste and recycling. And I think for us, we've known that recycling was not full cost recovery. We have other revenue areas within. We have 4 major service areas at solid waste. So, and the town council policy was that for certain recyclables, we would not charge. If you show the trends over time with the recycling market, it has fluctuated tremendously. We have had years with metals and cardboard and newspaper, clean newspaper, where we brought in hundreds of thousands of dollars. And now we're in a position where we bring in some revenue. So you've got a volatile market. You've got a policy that until 2016 really didn't prove itself out to be inequitable. When I took over as town manager, I had been trying to manage this issue since 1999. Sorry. And so we all collectively agreed that it was right to quantify how many people come to the landfill that don't have a sticker that use recycling. And that's what we did. And we've got more than 3,000 people who do it, and they don't pay. yet we have fixed cost, yet we have cost for disposal of recyclables, and we have transportation and people. So it's not just the per ton rate. I really see no other course of action than to at least consider a change in this policy. And if we're going to continue this program, to have a fee associated with it. And it does conflict, though, with the concept, which is a good concept, to encourage recycling. And I think Dan was right on. Right now, recycling, I hope it's being turned into another end product. I think most of it is, because you saw the gap between if they sell it to us as a recyclable, and then they take it to solid waste and get rid of it. Not only do they get the money from us, but they make the difference in throwing the stuff away. Now, they're not supposed to do that, but the market is what the market is. So this is a serious consideration. We aren't bringing this to you in a panic. We're bringing it to you because we collectively have agreed on our senior management team that it's time to revisit this issue. The other concerning trend is that in the past, we've actually, I think the word volatile is a good example of the recycling market, meaning that it was up and down. And the concern right now is we don't see an end to this downturn in the recycling market. Now, that could occur, but right now we don't see an end to it. So it's not as though this gap, and Director Millen, I'm sure, can share the statistics over years, but even last year it was half. It was, the shortage in these revenues was half of what we're facing in 21. So, that is very concerning, not being able to model this and say, all right, we're going to come out of this in 2 years. So maybe we carry the program as it is because we want to incentivize recycling, but we don't see that. And I don't have, number one, I don't want to dip into the general fund because we're going to be challenged there over the next 3 years. It also, even in a healthy year, would significantly erode the programs and services that are in the general fund. And this has been voted, that's why I started with the explanation I did. This is a full cost recovery enterprise fund. So it's really not one of the authorities that your town manager has. So we need to revisit this. And I think that offering, a very market savvy recycling program and embarking on an educational program to our community to reduce, reuse, and then recycle is something that we need to do. And it's, short of that, you see the challenges that we will have.
If I may?
Yes, Councilor.
With respect to that, Mark, I think that is accurate. The current trend doesn't indicate, at least from what I've seen and heard, that there will be a turnaround in terms of the markets purchasing this material going forward in the near future. In the near future, meaning in the next 3 or 4 years. So again, we're in a difficult time. We've got to figure out ways to minimize loss and try to break even on some of these accounts. I wholeheartedly would agree with $65, but I think that at a 50% reduction in a sticker fee, that is still a bargain. And as your slides have shown, when you go to the competitive market, we're still a bargain if you bought 2 stickers and put them in one household. So I don't want to get in a situation where we have to revisit this. It becomes problematic going down the road. And oh, by the way, let's go up, every year with an additional incremental increase. Let's kind of set a bar. I'd love to have it at even, but I don't think that the market would bear that currently. But my opinion would be 50% of the current sticker, and obviously the rest of the council can determine where that goes from there. Thank you. Thank you for your work. It's a difficult one.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Steinhilber, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just want to agree with Councilor Neary there. This is a bad business to be in right now, obviously. We've been subsidizing it for years. It worked well when there was no cost to us. But as the numbers bear out, it's really getting out of control. I think, obviously, and Dan mentioned this, the folks that are recycling for free are obviously not dropping trash at the dump. So they are using a private hauler. We have an idea what that cost would be if they had to pay their private hauler to get rid of recycles. But right now they're taking advantage of the fact that it's free here. So I think if you did have a sticker price with that in mind, that was still cheaper. I mean, certainly people are going to balk at it because it's been free for so long. But I think if you have a sticker that's coming in still cheaper than it would be for a private hauler, I would at least go, to that level, as Councilor Neary talked about. But I also might consider just going full sticker price. You're not going to lose anybody, but you may still gain people at that $2.50 rate. It's just recycling is a nice idea, but we have some serious financial impacts that are going on. It would be nice to think that everything's being recycled, but I think we all know deep down that it's not, that it's ending up in the same waste stream as the trash is. It's just the way it is. I don't think that's going to turn around anytime soon. Part of the reason that the market is what it is on recycles is because of China, and they're not accepting anything outside of their country. I don't expect them in the next few years to be overly friendly with a number of other nations around the world. It's going to be a tough go, I would think, with China on a number of issues. So I really don't see this changing, like we said, over the next 3, 4, 5 years. So this is going to be a financial reality that we're going to have to deal with. So I would certainly support at least going to the 50% rate that Councilor Neary mentioned, but I also would consider just going to full rate. It's just $2.50, and that's the sticker is the sticker.
Councilor Beden-Bender, please.
Thank you, President Hebert. So I don't disagree with much of what has been said previously, but my one concern is just that it may end up, for some it may actually be a financial burden. For others it just gets too frustrating, and I'm worried about people just stopping recycling altogether. I'm also worried about, there was a time when people liked to go into our woods and just dump their stuff there. And I'm worried about that becoming a reality again too. It's not that I'm offering an alternative here. It's just something that I see as being a byproduct of some of the decisions we may have to make here.
Thank you, Councilor. May I ask the Director Santos, in the case of the construction, demolition, and bulky items, do we break even or do we make a little money on that?
We plan to break even, but frequently we'll make money on the construction demolition because we get more in than we budgeted for. So we don't set the price to make money. We set the price to recover our costs, and then we set our budget. But frequently we'll get more revenue in for that particular item, and that goes in to boost our cash reserves.
Okay, thank you very much. And I just want to make sure that I understand what Councilor Neary and Councilor Steinhilber are suggesting. At the $65, is that half of what it would cost us, what we're saying, for the recycling operation? Dan, if you could answer that.
Yeah, I'm not going to say it's half. It's kind of hard to tell, and the reason is we're trying to predict how many customers we're going to have once you set a price. So to think that we're going to still sell 3,000 stickers when you go from $0 to $65 or some number, that's very hard to predict. You almost have to go through it to see what the impact will be of putting a price on it to really know what's going to happen. But we've looked at least with the given number, that $65 covering the costs of that disposal.
Okay. Thank you. And then, it is, even $65 is steep for a lot of people. I'm going to go back to what Councilor Biedenbender said, and I don't know exactly how we adjust that for individuals. I mean, people are bringing the recyclables right now to the town as opposed to paying it to their the vendor, the haulers, the private haulers. So it is a good deal when you look at how much it would cost if you have a vendor doing it. In any event, we cannot continue as a town to subsidize that operation. The good news is that there is a lot of pressure in the industry to put a fee, a cost, the responsibility of the final use of a material to both manufacturers and distributors, so that in time we could get more subsidy from the Commonwealth by putting that end of use on many of these materials that are considered recyclables. We have not had the interest. Money makes us make changes in our life. So because we had China and we could throw them poorly sorted recyclables, that's why they abandoned using the United States. But now, because it's costing us money, I think we're going to wake up as a country, reuse more recyclables, but also we have to have ways of taking the burden off of the municipalities for providing that service. So I don't think there's any doubt that we have to start charging for the recyclables, and I don't know how we'll come up with the final figure, but I would think that you'd have the general support of the town council that we cannot continue to subsidize the recycling at the transfer station. Any other councilors? Councilor Cullum, please.
Yes, thank you. So I think it's worth the discussion. You know, we pay for recycling with haulers. We drop our recycling for free. What happens to the recycling? I mean, I think we need to think about that. You know, we all feel good about putting it in one of those bins, but the reality of the situation is how much of it, what is the reality of the situation? I guess it's a question more than anything. How much of it is actually repurposed and how much of it is actually treated as trash and burned anyway? So, I mean, there's a larger conceptual question out there. I think about it, and we absolutely cannot absorb the fees for it anymore. It's astronomical. So I think that, you know, there'll be a good discussion on the council, but I would hope we're all like-minded about providing a little bit of a little allowance in the budget for that's not what I mean to say. A little bit. I think we need to revise our whole policy on it and charge us for the sticker, at least for the $65 at the very least.
Thank you very much, Councilor Cullum. Well said. Vice President Rep. Cressetti, please.
Thank you, Mr. President, and thank you, Dan, for the presentation. I have a question for PJ as far as the quality of the recyclables that you take in. And before you answer that, just a comment to Councilor Biedenbender, concerned about the cost to people on fixed incomes. I think currently we do provide a low-income sticker for the transfer station to our residents. And I would doubt that those that come for free to recycle I doubt that they would be the ones disposing of those materials in the woods. Just a comment there. But PJ, if you could just speak about the quality of recyclables that do come in, because I see a lot of people throwing trash in those recycle bins.
Yeah, since we switched over to source separation, the recycling has gotten much cleaner than when we were a single stream. Unfortunately, there is still some trash that goes into the bins. It's kind of the nature of the beast. When we did switch to single stream, a lot of misconceptions were out there on what items were recyclable. It kind of turned into a wishful recycling mentality, and it seemed to have carried over to certain items. It has cleaned up a lot since we did switch over, but there is still the unfortunate pieces of trash that do end up in the bins. It's pretty tough up there to keep an eye on every single item that goes into the bins. We do our best, but some does get by.
Does your food waste go into what people can compost, or what do you do with the food waste that gets recycled?
The food waste shed, that is picked up by Watts Family Farm over in Forestdale area. There is a charge for it when it's picked up, but it does eliminate it from the waste stream, and it's a much less of a cost than it would be if it was in the trash bins.
Uh-huh. I would agree with my fellow counselors, and as a sticker holder to the transfer station, I think the days of us subsidizing those to recycle for free are finally I think going to end. I also support the rigorous education of waste reduction, and I think that has to start with our stores that we allow to do business within the community. The styrofoam, which we can't recycle, that gets thrown away, albeit it doesn't weigh a lot, but it takes up an awful lot of space. So just an education component to this, I think, is very important. I'm not sure if I would support even putting a $65 fee on someone to recycle only. I think since we're mandated, I believe, by DEP to separate out the recycle, is that correct, PJ? This is a mandate from DEP that you're supposed to separate the recyclables out of the waste stream?
Yeah, there are waste bans from Mass DEP on items like plastic and paper and all the basic recyclables that we accept, that they're not allowed to go into the trash bins.
Yeah, I would support a one fee to enter our transfer station to do all that we accept there and not separate it out. So thank you.
Oh, sorry, I see Paul Neary with his hand up.
Mr. President, you're muted.
Thank you very much. Councilor Neary, did you want to speak? Thank you.
Just to follow up, I had a inquiry from a constituent, and the question was, looking into consolidating refuse, trash, and recyclables through multiple towns. I think this has been discussed before, but Dan, can you just touch base on that? And I know if there's no market for our town, by creating a larger pile, for lack of a better word, does it create? Is there a volume opportunity there in terms of generating income?
I don't think so. I can't imagine how that would work. I know Mark Els, if you don't mind, I know you've looked at this for a long time, and maybe you have a better insight into that question.
Yeah, when there's no market for the recyclables, it's tough, but certainly collectively coming together with our fellow municipalities offering this, there could be some economies of scale there. We do that regularly. We're certainly doing it with our glass right now, right? We're taking that over where? To Dennis at this point, but that's still $70 a ton to get rid of, right?
Sure.
Yeah. So, but that's more cost effective, and it's a reuse. I think we've got to, we have a little time here. I think if I hear the direction that you're going, it sounds as though I can proceed with preparing a recommendation to modify those regulations that are in place that say we do not charge for recyclables. And I right now, unless you indicate otherwise, that's the direction I'm going to go in. It's my feeling that we need to look at every option. The educational option, I think going to our kids is the best way. That's my opinion. They'll guilt us into doing the right thing. And but I think we need that. We need the educational, we need that broad brush look at the market with our fellow municipalities. I think that people like PJ and his staff do an excellent job in trying to keep the products as clean and knowing the market. And that's huge when we have a volatile market. And it's also huge when we have the opportunity to move into a more positive market. I think we need to have initiatives like President Hebert recommended, where he and I go to the state and we try to create new opportunities in the policies that are established. And I'm not opposed to going to one rate for all. I would just like to make sure we run a couple of models on that. We understand the fiscal benefits of it. I think Director Santos' suggestion that if we start charging for what was free, any amount, we may see that 3,000 number drop significantly. But on the other hand, they're going to pay for it either throwing it away in their trash or they're going to pay to recycle it, one or the other. And then there's risks, as Director Kelleher suggested, that you're not supposed to be throwing it in your trash. And if you get caught with large amounts, the state fines you. They certainly do at facilities like, my familiarity with Covantor. I don't have a firsthand familiarity with how New Bedford Waste processes it, but I'm sure they're subject to the same rules. So, that's my feeling. This is going to have to be, between the increases in MSW and the recycling market not turning, hitting that low and turning and beginning to go positive for us. I think we've got to try to come up with every alternative here and try to keep this as cost effective as we can for our residents. So,
Madam Vice President, please.
If I could just have you speak to this, Mark. Since we have ceased recycling until at least May 4th, and those that can't store their recyclables in their garage or in their house, are they going to be allowed to dispose of that with their household waste?
I don't know that they have an option. I know that Dan and PJ are looking at that and they're trying to come up with options for us. What's happening with metal, Dan, when it comes in? It still goes in the metal pile, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's happening with newspaper? Not allowed at this point.
No.
So we'd be looking for our residents to store this for the next 3 weeks if possible. It is only 3 weeks and we're not into the heat of, our peak season for trash is the same as our peak season for everything else. We have a lot more customers walk in the door after Memorial Day. So, hopefully we will come up with options so that our customers who want to remain customers, because the sticker is going to be due July 1, we'll be able to get rid of both products. But that's a really good question at this point. We, at this point, they would either have to store it or throw it away.
Okay.
And I'm not encouraging throw it away.
Yeah, and I just did have a recommendation from a constituent that said, when you resume recycling, it'd be really helpful if people could pull up to a bin and throw away their cardboard or their newspaper rather than driving at an angle, getting out of the car and walking down the path the way we do now. I know that's an entire programmatic change in the transfer station, and I know that we were looking at making the recycling area a little more streamlined and a little less hazardous for people going in and out of there. Just something to think about in the future.
Yeah, we wouldn't want them with their bags of trash in their lap, though, throwing it out the window. So we're going to have to figure out how to do that one.
Yeah, well, we have a design of a new transfer station And basically, when all these prices started moving upward, we had to put that on the shelf. But if things change in the future in the markets and in our financial situation, I'd like to see us dust that off and improve that facility, just like you're talking about.
Dan, may I ask you, are we getting any subsidy for our recycling from the Commonwealth of Massachusetts?
No, we're not.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, we see, I mean, from time to time, we'll get like $15,000 or something, but no, Paul, we're not.
Okay.
We're
It's
not.
almost like a grant. Is that
We
correct?
get small amounts that are incentive that allow us to print some educational material, or maybe, that's about it.
Okay.
They are not significant amounts.
Excellent. Okay. So I think the reality here is that, again, because of the extreme cost and at a time that we cannot afford it, we are being very much encouraged to take this very, very serious and to really make some changes and improvements in how we do all of this. So it is coming together that distributors and manufacturers, recyclers, manufacturing organizations, we're all coming to the table finally because of the tremendous costs that we're talking about. So I am greatly encouraged, and I thank you, Mark, for being willing to, we want to create a task force in all of Cape Cod to act as a region to put pressure on the Commonwealth of Massachusetts to help improve the use of recycled materials, use it in manufacturing, use it as a resource, make it a commodity that's such high quality that Massachusetts recycled materials will be in high demand throughout the country, if not even internationally. We are Massachusetts, we can do this. So I thank you, Mark, for your leadership in doing this. I think you have the full support of the councilors here in moving forward on this. And we have to take action. And so we have to keep working on this. Thank you very much. Any other councilors want to make any more comments right now on this?
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for this wonderful workshop, Mark. Appreciate it. All right. And thank you, Mr. Kelleher, for being with us. And Dan, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Mark, thank you. Okay, with that, we'd like to move to the orders of the day. Thank you very much. Just so that we know, we're going to start with old business. And obviously, I'm going to be asking Councilor Levesque. And the next item on old business will go to Councilor Steinhilber. Thank you very much. So, old business, item number 2020-138. If Councilor Levesque, if you could read that into the orders of the day, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. Old business is a second reading, roll call majority. This is item number 2020-138, appointments to a board, committee, or commission. Town Council is resolved and appoints the following individuals to a multi-member board, committee, or commission. To the Community Preservation Committee, Barley Lewis of Hyannisport as a regular member to a term expiring June of 2022. Stephen Robichaud of Barnstable as a planning board representative member to a term expiring June 2022. Disability Commission, Christopher Bartley of Hyannis as a regular member to a term expiring June of 2021. Infrastructure and Energy Committee, John Solomon of Katuitt as a regular member to a term expiring June 2021. Trust Fund Advisory Committee, Lillian Wu of West Hyannisport as a financial representative member to a term expiring June 2022. In the Barnstable Youth Commission, Mark Beal of Hyannis as a regular member to a term expiring June 30th, 2020.
Second.
Mr. President, you're muted.
Thank you very much for that information here. Thanks. If we could, thank you. We have a first and we have a second. Any discussion by councilors? If not, I would entertain a motion for a vote on the item?
So moved.
Second.
We have a first, we have a second. Thank you very much. This is by roll call, majority of item number 2020-138 from the Appointments Committee. Madam Clerk.
Counselors Bogan,
Yes.
Clark,
Yes.
Cullum,
Yes.
Rap Grissetti,
Yes.
Hebert,
Yes.
Levesque,
Yes.
Neary,
Yes.
Schnapp,
Yes.
Shaughnessy,
Yes.
Starr,
Yes.
Steinhilber,
Yes.
Biedenbender.
Yes.
12 yes.
Thank you very much, Madam Clerk. Okay, now, item number 2020-140, I would ask Councilor Steinhilber to read that into the record, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is item 2020-140. I'd like to open the public hearing. Supplemental appropriation and transfer order in the amount of $101,000 for the fiscal year 2020 Airport Enterprise Fund capital budget as written. And this is going to be a roll call majority vote.
Second.
We have a first and a second. Thank you very much. We'll have the rationale.
Sure. Good evening again, Katie Service, Airport Manager. The Massachusetts Aeronautics Division has a program that they call Leading by Example, a greenhouse gas initiative. They look at projects that they can implement at airports throughout the state that will reduce the greenhouse gas emissions. This year, they're supplying airports with a number of low emission pieces of mowing equipment. They have offered two to Barnstable Municipal Airport. One is a propane powered tractor with attachments for $71,000, and the other is a battery operated mower with a solar canopy, and that piece of equipment is $30,000. The state is paying 100% for these pieces of equipment. However, it's a reimbursable agreement. So the airport is requesting, as part of this agenda item, to use funds from our reserve, but that will be reimbursed 100% by the state. I've provided Cindy Lovell a copy of the letter that came with the state that's associated with the 100% purchase of the equipment for us. That's all I have for this item. If anyone has any questions, please let me know.
Thank you very much. This is also a public hearing, so we're going to open it up for public hearing. I'm going to ask Sarah if we have anybody in queue to speak.
No public comment at this time.
Thank you very much. In waiting to see if anyone does call in, I'm going to open it up at this point for any questions and comments by our councilors. Okay, seeing none, I'm going to ask to close public hearing as well as council comment at this time. All in favor?
Mr. President, I make a motion that we vote on item, that we close the public hearing and vote on item 2020-140.
Second.
We have a first and a second. Thank you very much. So this is going to be a roll call on item number 2020-140. Madam Clerk, please.
Counselors Clark,
Yes.
Cullum,
Yes.
Rap Grissetti,
Yes.
Hebert,
Yes.
Levesque,
Yes.
Neary, Mr. Neary,
Sorry about that. Yes.
Schnapp,
Yes.
Shaughnessy,
Yes.
Starr,
Yes.
Steinhilber,
Yes.
Biedenbender,
Yes.
Bogan.
Yes.
That's 12 yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Unanimous. Thank you. Thank you very much. We're going to now go to new business, please. Just so that everyone knows in the order that they're going to be speaking. And the first item is going to be Councilor Biedenbender. The next item is going to be by Vice President Rossetti. The next item, 143, will be by Councilor Starr. And on item number 144, that is going to be Councilor Bogan who's going to read that into the record for us. So thank you very much. Let's begin now with item number 2020-141.
Thank you, President Hebert. This is new business, item number 2020-141. We're referring this to public hearing on 5/7/2020. This is an appropriation and transfer order in the amount of $425,000 in community preservation funds for the creation and acquisition of a conservation restriction on 3 wooded lots addressed at 150 and 180 Great Marsh Road and 55 Hayes Road, Centerville, 6.2 acres, as written.
Second.
Second.
Thank you very much, Councilor Biedenbender. So I'm going to entertain a motion for the vote. On item number 2020-141. Madam Clerk, if we could have a roll call.
Counselors Cullum,
Yes.
Grassetti,
Yes.
Hebert,
Yes.
Levesque,
Yes.
Neary,
Yes.
Schnepp,
Yes.
Shaughnessy,
Yes.
Starr,
Yes.
Steinhilber,
Yes.
Biedenbender,
Yes.
Bogan,
Yes.
Clark.
Yes.
That is 12 yes, passes.
Much, Madam Clerk. We're going to do item number 2020-142.
Yes. Mr. President?
Yes.
This is new business. Refer to a public hearing on May 7th of 2020. And this, I'll be reading into the record a substitute motion. Item 2020-142, supplemental appropriation in the amount of $38,381 for the Barnstable Police Department fiscal year 2020 operating budget for the purpose of funding expenses associated with the hiring of 8 patrol officers, as written.
Second.
You're muted
You're
again, Mr.
muted,
President.
Paul.
You're muted, Paul.
Oh, thank you very much. I appreciate it. I try to shut it off and then I forget to put it on. So thank you. So thank you very much. I'm going to ask the clerk to kindly take a roll call on item number 2020-142, referring to a public hearing on May 7th. Madam Clerk.
Counselors.
Are you referring this one to a public hearing?
Yes.
Yes.
It is?
Yep.
Okay.
Okay.
Sorry.
Yep.
Cool. All right. Thank you.
Counselors Grassetti,
Yes.
Hebert,
Yes.
Levesque,
Yes.
Neary,
Yes.
Schnepp,
Yes.
Shaughnessy,
Yes.
Starr,
Yes.
Steinhilber,
Yes.
Biedenbender,
Yes.
Bogan,
Yes.
Clark,
Yes.
Cullum.
Yes.
That's 12 yes. Thank you. It passes.
Thank you very much. I'm going to ask Councilor Starr to please read in 2020-143 into the record, please.
2020-143 is new business, may be acted upon by roll call majority. Resolve approving the appointment of Derek Lawson as Director of Marine and Environmental Affairs, as written.
Second.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. We have a first and a second. Do we have any counselor comments? Questions, comments? Hearing none.
Excuse me, if we could just hear from the manager as to his
Yes.
his rationale. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Vice President.
Thank you. Mark Ellis, Town Manager. It is my pleasure to bring to you my recommendation of Derek Lawson as the Director of the Marine and Environmental Affairs Division. If you remember, several years ago, we began some restructuring by moving Marine and Environmental Affairs, which was formerly a division, to become a department. I felt strongly as your manager that within our strategic plan, our natural resources are an absolute priority, and our Marine and Environmental Affairs Division, amongst many other things, plays a significant role relevant to our natural resources and the management of our natural resources. At that time, we created the director position of MEA, and at that time, Dan Horn moved into that role. Also at that time, Eric Schufelt retired, and then shortly thereafter, Dan Horn retired. Assistant Town Manager Clyburn and myself had discussions with our staff about who was interested in becoming the interim director as we moved toward filling that position permanently. And at that time, Derek expressed an interest in doing so. And after reviewing his background and his experience with us here in the town of Barnstable since 2013 and his progressive advancements within that department and the recommendations of his supervisors, we promoted him to be the interim director of MEA. And he has served in that capacity now going on 4 months. He works with the assistant town manager directly and me the same as every other director, meaning with the assistant town manager, he's been meeting weekly to make sure that we are adjusting not only a relatively new department in our town, but also adjusting to the last 30 days. And he prepared the operating budget and participated in the capital budgeting this year. We didn't miss a step. He submitted all information on time, as well as managing all the other aspects of that department. Midstream of operating budget, we modified because of the COVID-19 situation. He came in with significant changes to the department, and Assistant Town Manager Clyburn and I both concurred that his performance as the interim was exceeded all expectations that we had, and felt confident that at that time we would move forward with this recommendation to you all. Certainly Derek's background has been with, he comes to us with a degree in management. He willingly stepped up to participate in the Suffolk certification program, and I will support him and encourage him to continue with efforts beyond that, as I do all my senior managers. He's played many roles for us as mooring officer, as harbor master. There's a lot of confusion on this one. A lot of people thought Dan Horn was still the harbor master, when in fact he wasn't. He was the director of MEA. So I've had people calling me saying, now, is this for the harbor master or is this for the director of MEA? This is for the director of MEA. And we will have an interim harbor master and then make decisions for that position afterwards, and Derek will play the lead role in doing that. So I am here tonight to ask for your ratification of Derek Lawson as our Director of Marine and Environmental Affairs.
Thank you very much, Mark. want to now open it up, and I think we do have Derek with us in the program. Derek Lawson is here today. Hi, Derek.
Good evening.
So I'd like to open it up now for any questions or concerns from, or comments from our town councilors. All right. Thank you, Madam Vice President.
I can't let an opportunity go by without congratulating Derek. And I've had the pleasure to work with Derek when we were working on Old Shore Road and the storage of vessels there. And he's been very responsive and follows through. And I think you've made an excellent choice, Manager Els, in appointing Derek to this position.
Thank you, Madam Vice President. Derek, I have seen you sitting in the Suffolk classes, and you're certainly a model student, working very hard in that. So thank you for doing that.
Thank you.
Any other councilors? Not seeing any, I will entertain a motion to take this to a vote, please.
Second. Oh, so moved.
So moved. We have a second.
Second.
Okay, could I have a third? No. All right. So thank you very much. Madam Clerk, if we could do a roll call on this is on item number 2020. Where am I? I'm sorry, 2020-143, please.
Councilors Hebert,
Yes.
Levesque,
Yes.
Neary, Councilor Neary? I think we lost him. Schnapp,
Yes.
Shaughnessy,
Yes.
Starr,
Yes.
Steinhilber,
Yes.
Biedenbender,
Yes, and congratulations.
Bogan,
Yes.
Clark,
Yes.
Cullum? Yes, congratulations.
Rappresetti.
Yes.
And Mr. Neary, are you there? Thank you.
Yes, I am now.
Okay, thank you. That's 12 yes. Congratulations.
Excellent. Yeah, you can applaud. You can do this as silent applaud. And thank you very much. Congratulations.
Thank you. I would like to thank Town Manager Els and Assistant Town Manager Clyburn for this opportunity. I feel very fortunate as MEA has a terrific staff and they're all very passionate about what they do. I look forward to continuing and enhancing the services that MEA provides, and I look forward to working with you all. Thank you for your support.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Yeah. Thank you. All right. So now for our last item, and I just want to point out why I'm asking Councilor Bogan to read this into the record. I know that in Osterville, you have been spearheading the reaching out in this COVID crisis. You have been reaching out and helping neighbors to neighbor in Osterville. So I thought it was appropriate for you to read this next item into the record. Thank you. Councilor Bogan, please.
Thank you, Mr. President, and thank you for the recognition. I assure you, it is the work of many others that make that happen. Item number 2020-144 is new business that may be acted upon with a roll call majority. It is a resolution authorizing the acceptance of personal property for COVID-related purposes. And the resolution reads that in accordance with Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 44, Section 53A 1/2, The town council does hereby approve and ratify the acceptance of gifts of personal property, including but not limited to masks and face coverings from donors for COVID-related purposes for use by the town and its employees as directed by the town manager or his designee, and authorizes and ratifies the further distribution of such gifts of personal property by the town manager for use by first responders, private organizations, and citizens as he deems appropriate.
Second.
Thank you very much. We have a first and a second. Any comments, discussions from councilors? Seeing none, I would entertain a motion to vote on item number 2020-144.
So moved.
Second.
We have a first and a second. Thank you very much. Madam Clerk.
Counselors. Levesque,
Yes.
Neary,
Yes.
Schnapp,
Yes.
Shaughnessy,
Yes.
Starr,
Yes.
Steinhilber,
Yes.
Bender,
Yes.
Bogan,
Yes.
Clark,
Yes.
Cullum,
Yes.
Rap Grissetti,
Yes.
Hebert.
Yes.
It's unanimous, 12 yes.
Thank you very, very much. So this brings us to the end of the orders of the day. Our next scheduled regular meeting will be May 7th. If you want to call these regular meetings, it's a little extra strain for us to do all of this, but I think we're doing very, very well. We do look forward to all being together. Hopefully it could be as early as May 7th, but I think our town is doing a terrific job. We're keeping the infections to a low level, and we have our manager and our wonderful town staff to thank for all the precautions that we've been taking to protect our people. So thank you very much. That being said, I would entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Second.
First, we have a second. Thank you very much. I think just to make it official, Gordon, I'm sorry, Councilor Stott,
Are we voting by hand?
Shall we vote by hand or by roll call?
I think you have to do roll call.
By roll call. By roll call.
Let's do it. Okay, Madam Clerk, thank you.
Counselors, Neary,
Yes.
Schnapp,
Yes.
Shaughnessy,
Yes.
Starr,
Yes.
Steinhilber,
Yes.
Bender,
Yes.
Bogan,
Yes.
Clark,
Yes.
Cullum,
Yes. Yes.
Rap Grissetti,
Yes.
Yes.
Hebert,
Yes.
Levesque.
Yes.
That is unanimous.
You guys are the best. Have a good night. Thank you very much.
All right.
Thank you.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Ann,
Night.
Ann, Ann,
Yes.
I just have a quick question on the letters that get mailed out tomorrow for the appointments committee that the town. They're gonna have to make appointments with you to be sworn in, correct?
Absolutely. They all have to be sworn in, and that's how we'll have to do it.
So I will add a line onto the appointment letter that they need to call your office to make an appointment to be sworn in.
Perfect.
All right, thank you very much for the info.
Thanks.